There we go. Okay, we're recording. Mitch, do you have an intro yet?
No.
No? Hayden?
Welcome to what was it again?
Unplugged, unmuted.
Unplugged, Unmuted podcast.
Yeah.
Today we have our guest Mitch and our
Yourself.
host.
All right. This is Mitch, and this is Hayden. I've known Mitch for a couple years now,
Yeah.
mostly online. This is like our second time hanging out in person. How crazy is that?
I know.
Sinister. But anyways, first time meeting Hayden.
Nice to meet you, Ryan.
Nice to meet you too. Are you working on Mitch's game with him?
One of his games.
One of his games.
Of
Well-
course.
Well, we're working on one together.
Okay.
More like.
Is the one I know just a solo project?
Yeah.
Okay. So what one are you guys working on?
That's a good question.
Well, you don't have a name for it yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of
Let's
how
come
to
up with one
explain
on
it.
this podcast. Or we'll leave it to viewers in the comments down below based on the description.
Well, you want the general rundown?
Yeah.
So basically, we're making like it's a game that takes place in feudal Japan, and it's similar to like the old Legends of Zelda or StarTropics is our main inspiration for this game. So it's kind of like that. And then everything's like feudal Japan. So the main character is a samurai, where you go around, beat up a bunch of yokai, which are like Japanese like demons and monsters and stuff from folklore and other mythological stuff. So we're trying to make it as historically accurate as we can.
Like Assassin's Creed type, historically accurate.
Maybe not that in level of detail, but at least enough to the point where if somebody sees something and they are familiar with what a yokai is, that they can pick up on that and think it's cool. So
That's cool.
no,
So,
Hayden he loves it. So
big history guy.
Not exactly, but I've been going to the library and like renting books and stuff because
Nice.
I'm trying. I really am doing my best here, but we'll see how well that works
For
out
your personal endeavors or for this game?
for this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's sick. That's sick. Going actually, because it's like, I don't know a lot of game developers. I don't know if you guys know a lot of game developers. Well, you're president of the game development club here.
I don't know anybody more. How do I say this?
Advanced.
Advanced or like
Smart.
as into this as Hayden or I think.
Yeah.
I mean, every once in a while you meet like a random kid on campus that just like isn't in the game development club, but they say they know how to do a lot of game development stuff. Like, dude, come join the club. Like, that's what we're here for. But
Yeah. For the game development club, do you guys have like are you in the game development club?
Yeah, I actually
Okay.
ran it before he joined,
yeah,
and then I
Okay.
talked him into running for
yeah,
president.
okay, buddy.
Really?
No, currently I'm the president. Hayden is the vice president. It's been that way last year as well. I think we're doing pretty good. Our numbers are up quite a bit, so
For sponsorships or just members?
just membership in general. When COVID happened, the club took a big hit. I think there were like less than 5 people at some of the meetings. Yeah, it was really bad.
Virtually? Or was it still in person?
It was a mix of both. I think we tried to do in person, but
Yeah, it
Was that when you were running it, when COVID first hit?
I mean, way to throw me under the bus, guys, but yeah.
So you're the reason for COVID.
I was the reason for
no.
this claim.
well, COVID happened and they just kind of like dumped the club on Hayden because the president
Really?
like graduated.
I don't
Yeah.
want to throw them under the bus. I mean, it was like they're graduating
In
they-
December of 19?
Uh,
Or did they?
no, like
okay. So they graduated
Spring.
after
yeah.
COVID
So I had a
first hit.
full year.
Okay.
But they were going to graduate, and no one else was like super active in the club. And like Mitch kind of mentioned, there's a lot of people in the club that are really interested in game development, but don't want to spend the time to actually like develop anything, which is totally understandable. It's as we'll probably get into in this podcast, it's a lot of work and it's pretty difficult.
Yeah, I imagine this is like. I think you showed me like a couple of your personal stuff. You're like, dude, I got multiplayer working. I'm like, I can't get this for loop to run, dude. Like, I don't know what you want from me. I'm like, congrats, dude. I don't know the difficulty. That was way more than what because we're doing like 227 at the time. Like, I met Mitch, and he's like, yeah, I'm working on my game. I'm like, what? It's like I had no idea like that anyone in 227 would even be capable of that. Homeworks for coming out. He's like. They came out like 4 p.m. I got them done at 7. I'm taking like 24 hours to do it. And I'm just like, well, I guess I'll go talk to Mitch. Everyone used you in that class.
That class was so much fun. The assignment would come out and I would speed run it the
Yeah.
night it came out.
Yeah, you should have just done like a Twitch channel speedrunning 227
Oh, dude,
assignments.
I should have done Twitch streaming.
You should have.
Yeah, that'd been fun.
Are you graduated then? Or what's
No,
your story?
I'm graduating in like a couple months, so senior right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
And you got 1 year left.
Yep.
Okay. You're gonna miss Hayden, aren't you?
be honest.
Debatable.
Debatable. For present purposes, yes, because he's right.
Yes, I will. I will miss Hayden. Yes.
So with your guys' co-development game design, do you guys do like a lot of just virtual stuff, like virtual meetings or in-person meetings? Break me down with that.
Well, okay. Here's what's convenient: is that Hayden and I are roommates, so he can literally just walk across the apartment, and we can. I have 2 desks in my room, so it's very nice. He can just come and sit in there, and we can work on stuff together in the same room.
That's nice.
Yeah. Well, it's nice because I mean, it's also would be fine if you were just across the apartment, but that's also a lot of just running back and forth. But no, it's kind of nice. I'd prefer it over meeting virtually, anyways.
Yeah. Are you guys roommates for this exact reason or
That's complicated.
Yeah.
complicated?
Long story short, he needed somewhere to stay, and we had an opening. So it's with me and 2 friends from high school.
You 2 friends from high school and then Hayden.
And
Yeah.
Hayden, yeah. But we all get along
Nice,
pretty well.
nice.
He's a good fit.
Yeah, that's good. That's like the hardest problem. Is like if you have like 3 guys who are like already like really good friends, then it takes like that special fourth to make the magic happen.
Mm.
But you guys got that. What's your guys' ETA rent or ballpark rent? I'm curious, just like with 4 roommates in an apartment, because I'm 4 people in a house, and mine's like $340 a month without utilities or anything.
It's about $550.
$550. Are you guys along like Lincoln?
Yeah, we're right next to the Hy-Vee. So it's like a 5-minute walk from campus. It's not that bad.
That's
like
really
the
not
edge
that
of
bad.
campus.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's worth it. It's fully furnished.
That's nice.
Comes with Wi-Fi. Comes with all the kitchen stuff. We have
$550 including Wi-Fi?
Yeah, and parking.
and parking. Yeah, dude, it's really nice. It's totally worth the money.
Yeah.
And location is good too. And it's like, it's like pretty good quality for the most part. But every apartment's gonna have its problems. So
Yeah. Is it better than Farley?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We always joke though that like in 5 years it's going to be as bad as Friley. So we'll see.
I don't know. Farley, for record for the viewers here, if no one knows what Iowa State is, Farley is the longest standing dorm hall.
I don't know about that. I know it was like
Maybe.
second biggest
It's
dorm
second
in the
biggest.
country. Yeah.
Biggest in the country?
Yeah.
Yeah. When it was first like made into Friley, it was the biggest. I can't remember what college beat us out, but it used to be 3 separate dorm buildings, and then they basically just like built a bunch of links between the 3 of them and made it into one giant one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You must have got that when you were doing like your tour or something.
I don't remember. I think somebody told me, but it makes sense because if you walk through it, like there's
That's
some
true. It's like this
hallways.
big L shape.
Yeah, there's some hallways that just like you can tell the walls just look totally different.
Yeah. Did you live in Farley, Hayden?
No, I lived in Eaton for a little bit.
Eaton.
Yeah.
Isn't that's right by it, isn't it?
It's like right across
Yeah.
by Helzer and all those. Yeah.
Yeah. Though the only nice thing about Farley that it has going on for is UDIC is literally right across, 50 feet, 60 feet away? If
Yeah,
that.
it's really close. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only thing I miss. Is like, you get, I'm not going to give UDIC like top tier food, but I'll say
UDIC.
Windows has better.
UDIC.
UDIC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it stands for.
Union Drive Community Center or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's-
I'm not just saying you dick. I'm not calling Mitch a dick or.
It's just funny though, because like I don't think anybody from outside of Iowa State would know what that means.
True. I literally did just.
What? You dick? What's he talking about?
It's like that's not nice. No, so going into college, at least for me, I don't know if you guys were like, were you guys very set on your guys' career paths for college, or were you just like, oh, software engineering pays a lot, I'm just gonna do that?
I was set from like 8th grade. Because I knew I wanted to do engineering in like middle school, kind of. And then 8th grade, 8th grade was like when I finally decided I wanted to do engineering. And then I got into programming, I think sophomore year of high school.
Nice.
And that's when I decided I wanted to do software engineering, just because that was like right down my alley. So I don't know about you, Hayden, but
I was pretty set in something like computer science. Like I have a big engineering family, so it was pretty set in stone that I was going to do something computer related. But I was kind of looking into design and sort of stuff like that a little bit. But for a lot of those, you have to make a portfolio and you have to apply to get in. I didn't have anything like that at the time, so I decided to just kind of go with software engineering.
Did you have a big engineering family?
No, my dad's a businessman. My mom is a businesswoman, so all business.
All business.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
It's funny too because my
yeah.
dad, like, I started getting into programming. My dad would make fun of me for it, you know, in like
Yeah,
a
you
playful
little
way.
nerd, yeah.
I know, but now it's funny because that's what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
every once in a while I'll be coding. He's like, "Oh, are you done with Skynet yet?" And I'm like, "Maybe I'm getting close."
You're like, maybe if I had you help me, but
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, no, well, because my parents were medical field and then business. So engineering, business, medical. That's interesting. I don't know. Like I like seeing so like some people like some of the like best students here is like, oh yeah, my dad works for NASA or BAE or IBM or something. It's like that probably gives you a nice head start over me, but I don't like comparing myself to those people because it's like they probably were put behind a computer coding and like freaking Visual Basic at the age of 10.
Yeah.
And it's like I started
Well,
sophomore year of high school
You
too.
you run into people like that though, and there's people that start super early in their lives, but like they get to the point where they're almost a rock star programmer because they get into like their later years and they're so advanced that they're just like kind of cocky about it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's like the biggest thing I have with like team projects. Just like I had this one guy for. Did you take 288?
Yeah.
You took 288. That was a fun class.
I took 327.
That's tough.
Dude,
Did
hey,
you like
I gotta-
288?
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I liked it
I thought
too.
327 was fun. I got to make a game out of C++.
I think working with a physical like robot to me is more fun than. I like hardware over software for coding.
Listen, man, I do like making video games.
That is true. A big software guy.
Yeah, so
Do you prefer hardware or software, Hayden?
Well, the fact that I do so much software is kind of nice to kind of take a break and see what the hardware programming was like. So I like 288 for that aspect, but I get where Mitch is coming from at the same time. I don't know. I don't think there's like a right or wrong answer for that one.
It is personal preference. That's
Yeah,
all it is.
yeah.
I don't know. I just like instead of being like, oh, here's this sorted array. I like seeing this robot do, stuff like that. It just goes in a circle or whatever you have it do. Because it's like to me, it's like I could type out a system out.println line whatever and just have it print a terminal or whatever, and be like, oh, cool. I can put words on a screen. But I like seeing something like physically move. I'm like, I did that. I'm making that move. So it's like. For post grad, like my personal side hustle that I want to be is kind of like automated hydroponics. I don't know if you guys know what hydroponics are. It's like you gotta do sand based or vertical farming. So you suspend with vertical farming, you just literally just basically clamp the seed and just mist the nutrients it needs with like a spray bottle or mist or whatever, and it's uses like 50% less water. No pesticides, nothing, because you can basically create any climate you want it to be in, because you got the artificial lights, you have humidifiers, all this stuff, and you just let the roots grow in the air. It's fine. It's like the nutrients you get from the dirt are supplied in the mineral water, right?
yeah.
So you don't need the dirt. But it's like for 500 square feet, I was looking at this. It's like Zip Grow or something. For 500 square feet with all the stuff you need, it's like $110,000. I'm like, that's not bad. But if you can add extra equipment to automate it, big engineer guy here, not that big, but I think it'd be cool, dude. I think that'd be really sick.
Automation is very nice.
It is. Do you do any automation?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm thinking about it.
What are you, Hayden?
Could you define automation for me?
Yeah.
Anything you've programmed or dinked with to make your life easier?
Yeah, I could say so. I've done a lot of like software tools, mainly for game development, but that kind of eased the process along, I guess, if that counts.
Yeah. Would you care to give me an example?
That's a good one. Maybe like a level editor or something like that. Or I don't know, something that like will maybe design a piece of a level for me or randomize something. I don't know, just something simple that kind of like makes the process go a little bit faster.
And you coded that?
Yeah, I mean,
That's nice.
thank you.
That's nice. I have no game development experience, so it's like anything. Well, you guys probably like this is so low level. But I'm over here like, I'm just blown away. But even like the small school, it really is cool. It's like that's why I'm having you guys on here. It's like I don't know anything about game development, but I like learning about like different processes of stuff and stuff like that. What would you guys say like your biggest issue is though with the game you guys are developing?
From like a programming perspective, doesn't matter, just in general.
In general,
Um, the visuals maybe.
Absolutely, the visuals,
Yeah.
man. It's tough. So we're trying to do something where it's kind of hard to explain in words, but it's like it looks two-dimensional, but when you hit certain buttons on the controller, it'll actually rotate the world in 3 dimensions. Have you heard of the game Fez before at all?
I
By
have.
chance? Okay. Well, you can kind of think of it as like it looks like a big pixel art like piece, but when you hit a button, it's actually like a fully 3D modeled kind of world.
You've seen like the original, like, do you know what StarTropics is?
I know.
You know what Legend of Zelda is, the
Yep.
original one.
Yep.
Okay, so it's
Is
kind
that
of like
the top-down view one?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of like that. StarTropics is kind of like that, except for movement is grid based. It also looks a little 3D just because of how they did the art. Like the walls like come up a little bit. I guess Zelda kind of does that too. But what we're doing is it looks like that, but then you can rotate it in 90-degree increments, and it'll like snap to another 90 degrees. So when you rotate it, it still looks like after you're done rotating, it still looks like that same game, but now you have a different perspective.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like, because the only like top-down game I play is kind of like Pokemon, or like the older ones, like
Mhm.
Fire Red, Leaf Green, Ruby, all that stuff. But you're saying like you can like rotate.
The entire
Interesting.
screen, yeah.
So then do the controls rotate with that too?
Yeah.
Nice.
So like W is always like facing away from the camera.
Okay, that's cool. What? So how long did that take you guys to get implemented?
The mechanic itself for rotating and stuff wasn't too bad. I think we've spent more time just messing with trying to get it look right because we've had problems with because of the angle it's at. You gotta like because what we wanted is that it looks like squares. So we want the ground to look like a square as well as the wall, so they're the same size. Because normally with a orthographic camera at an angle, the top is going to look like a rectangle because of the angle it's at. So we had to like do some stuff with like stretching the camera, or that's the easiest way of putting it, and trying to like, I don't know, just get it look nice. Because I mean, rotating it looks fine. It's just rotating. But like the core of the gameplay is going to be when it's not rotating. So we wanted that to look like really nice and have it to have that like NES game feel to it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Are you guys using Unity, or what engine are you gonna run the game on?
Yeah.
So we're using Unity right now. I'm going to be honest, it's not ideal for what we're doing. Mitch is a big Unity guy, and he's kind of leading the ropes in terms of programming and stuff like that. So we're kind of going with Unity for that purpose because it's just faster. But personally, I think if we had more time, we would build it probably in like a different game engine or make our own game engine for it because it's a little tough
Make
right
your own
now.
game engine.
Yeah.
That's intense.
It's not that bad.
Really?
I mean, that's what I'm doing right now with the other game I've talked to you about. So
Of course you are. You're always doing something, dude. You're always like doing like the next thing. I'm just
well,
like,
it's so
blown
extra.
away.
It's so extra though. It's totally worth it for what I need. Most people, it's total making your own game engine isn't like worth the time because
right.
if you're making a game like Unity is supposed to be general purpose. So if you're making a game that's like a platformer, it's got tons of built-in tools or libraries like extra stuff for it. So it's like, why wouldn't you use it? Because you're saving time on making an audio system, making like a UI interface and stuff like that when it's not really worth your time putting to that. But the other game I'm working on, the sand one, because I'm simulating like so many different things at once, like I needed that like full control over the engine and how everything's working to make sure that the performance is like up to par.
So is this something you want to do full time, game development,
If
or is this
possible.
just side hobby? Side hobby right now, I presume.
Yeah.
Yeah, side
Definitely.
hobby right now because school is
School.
more important.
Yeah.
Just because I couldn't drop out. I would have tons of loans and no way to pay them off. But yeah,
OnlyFans.
I don't know. I only have like 1 subscriber, and I'm looking at him.
And 2,
Oh, okay.
friends support friends. Come on now.
Okay.
No, the craziest thing to me is like, I don't know if you guys, do you have TikTok? Do
Not anymore.
you have TikTok?
All right, now, no.
Okay, not right now. That's subject to change. But so the craziest thing I've seen on TikTok is this guy. I don't know if you know the game Volcanoids on Steam.
I've heard of it.
I have not heard of it.
Okay. Anyways, it's like this, I want to say it's like an island survival based thing with a volcano. And you have like this drill that digs into the ground because like if the volcano explodes, you got to go underground, save yourself. And it's like this island's infested with robots, but your goal is to just keep building on to like your drill and base and stuff and just keep surviving, getting better and better stuff. I've never played it. This is just why I've subjected from all the TikTok videos and the summary and stuff. But how this guy did it is he's just a single man indie game developer, just like you guys are. And he just kept putting out clips on TikTok, like when the game was almost done to being released. And he's like, if anyone has any ideas, just let me know. And he takes the community ideas, whatever the most liked one is, and implements that, and then makes like next week makes the clip on. He's like, what? How does this look? It's crazy.
Yeah, TikTok is nuts for game development. There's another guy I met on Reddit like a while back, and he's making a game called Skullborn, and he started posting on TikTok. It absolutely blew up. I mean, he's got like millions of views between all of his videos. Dude, it's crazy. Because like his like Discord server blew up like over a week. So it's very impressive. TikTok is the algorithm just works wonders.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. It hasn't worked wonders for me. I think I just need to stop making shit content. I don't know. I don't know. But I don't know, dude. Like some people just make a stupid little video. It's like them throwing like a freaking egg at their brother's head or something, and it just blows up. It's like, well, of course that's gonna blow up. I'm gonna laugh at that, right? But I would say once you guys are close to development, are you gonna try that?
Yeah, marketing is if especially okay. I'm gonna take a step back. So game development. If we're making a project that you're taking seriously, you got to treat it like a business, right? So the game is just the product. We also need to market it because if nobody knows about our product, they're not going to buy it. It's the same with everything else. Like if I make some really cool invention, like, yeah, it's really cool and great and people should love it. But if nobody knows about it, they're not going to buy it. So it's the same way with game development. And social media is probably the cheapest and easiest way to get out there because we don't have to pay people for advertising. We can just start posting and, as long as we use the right hashtags and whatever, like hopefully it catches wind and people start noticing. Or another option would be like send it to some YouTubers. Maybe they'll play the game if they think it looks cool, and then hopefully they have an audience that can get involved. Like I don't know, there's ways of doing it. So
Send it to XQC or something like that.
that would be so crazy.
If just imagine he's just like does like a 4-hour stream, be like, oh, I'm trying out insert game title here.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be sick. That would be your way to fame.
That's the one problem though with a lot of like the projects that we work on is that they aren't really streamer friendly, I would say. I actually did like a talk at the Game Development Club about how to make your game more like streamer friendly so it does blow up. And I think a lot of the things you want to kind of focus on is like having a good storyline that a streamer could react to, having a lot of replayability so they can play it multiple times, maybe ramping up the difficulty like a ton so they can rage at the game or something like that. Because if you don't do that, then it's really hard for them to play a game and talk over it and have commentary if the game isn't very engaging for the audience as well.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Mythic Quest?
No.
Nope.
I say, do you guys know what the TV show Silicon Valley is?
Yes.
No.
No? Okay.
I've heard of it, but no.
Okay. But do you understand the premise of it? How it's supposed to be a spoof on, what people will think Silicon Valley is, but in reality, that's just Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Mythic Quest is the same, but with like game development, and it's just like these programmers, whatever. It's like they're just stressed to the max, right? And they're like, oh, we gotta please this 13-year-old streamer or whatever, and he's like, oh, this update sucks. You should have been able to do this with it. And this person at the software studio is like, I told you so. We should have did that with this thing, or so. It's just like it's supposed to be a parody on game development. It's like, you can't fool me. It's like, I know like a lot of the, like just seeing how the TV show Silicon Valley, just how it's like, you have some dude who has like zero social skills bringing the next best thing. I mean, I presume I don't work in Silicon Valley, but I presume
It happens.
yeah, I presume it is. But you're not socially awkward, and so far you're not.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I just don't know you that much, but I know Mitch quite well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have
Well,
to admit.
that's what separates the good from the great. So
The good from the best.
yes. Well, that's the thing though. Yeah, most companies they look for, I mean, personality, and they look for technical skills. Because like, yeah, it's great if you can, make Minecraft 2.0 overnight, but like, that doesn't matter if you don't know how to talk to people about it.
Yeah, I feel like that was Steve Jobs versus Steve Wozniak. Wozniak was the guy that did it, and Jobs was the guy who's like, me and Wozniak, dream team.
Yeah.
I'm going to present it. I'm going to sell it. That was his thing. He was a really good business guy. I mean, he knew the ins and outs too, but not to the point Wozniak did.
Yeah, exactly.
And the only reason I bring that up is because I'm listening to the Steve Jobs Audible right now. Not as we speak, but probably as I'm going home, I'm going to be listening to more. It's actually really good. He was kind of like a little piece of shit just because, like, well, the backstory is like his biological parents, he was adopted. Biological parents were both college graduates. One was a lawyer, one was a doctor, right? So it's like, dude could have had the Atari 7, right? Just could have had the stuff that's not even released yet. And like, that's just how much wealth they had, how intellectual his parents were. But since he was adopted, he actually got 2 high school dropout parents. One was a mechanic and one just, I don't know what his mom did. But his dad was a mechanic, so he's like very hands-on with like the ECUs and your cars and stuff. That's just what his dad liked. And Steve Jobs was like, oh, I like messing with the ECUs and stuff. He was only like 5. He's like playing with ECUs like they're Legos, right?
Yeah.
But it's super cool. And then he's like, well, school's boring to me, right? So if we don't get to go to a better school, I'm just going to stop going to school. And his parents were like, really? Right? Like, why can't you just be cooperative, right? He's like, nope, I'm going to make you guys financially stressed as hell, and I'm going to get the best of the best. But in 2nd grade, he tested as like a high school sophomore for how smart he was. So it's like kind of justified. It's like there's not many kids like that. At least I haven't met. I've met only one like that. I went to high school with him, and he, when he was 13, got a 5 on the AP Calc test.
Wow.
Yeah. He was in my graduating class. I'm just like, dude, you're nuts. Like, I didn't take AP Calc. I was scared to. I'm like, no, I ain't touching that. But it's very interesting that these like ultra multi-billionaires that make these tech companies are just like, I don't know what it is. People will say it's like, oh, well, Elon Musk has Asperger's, or, they just put him on like some sort of neurodivergent spectrum, which is like, it's like a superpower. I don't know. It's like they're almost like glorifying. It's like, but it's like there's different, obviously, stages of the spectrum. It's like, well, wherever that superpower is like, I feel like I need to be there. Because like, they just get so fixated on one thing, and that's really what just is interesting to me. I don't know if that applies to any of you guys with your interest in like psychology.
Well, I don't know about being on the spectrum, but I definitely have a fix for game development.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying like interest, like how being like people label being on the spectrum is like, oh, well, you get so fixated on one thing that you're just like determined to make it work. At least that's how Steve Jobs did, because it's like he was thinking of like a touch screen in like the 90s. They didn't make it work.
Yeah.
And then same thing with like a graphical user interface. He thought of that, but at the time they're like, dude, we just have a terminal. It's like, what are we going to do? We're just going to put a little piece of paper up. It's going to automatically just render anything we're doing. That's what Apple made. They made a mouse. Otherwise, there's just, arrow keys for how to maneuver. So it's just very interesting that you have just special people in the world. I don't know if that's politically correct or not, but just people that think differently than I do. It's like my creativity is only limited to like Minecraft. That's it. It's just like, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Do you have any input on just creativity in general with like, how did you guys come up with a game other than pulling your inspiration from Legend of Zelda and the other game?
I think this was mostly Hayden.
Yeah, so I actually went to Mitch one day and I said, I have this idea for a game. I think we could throw this together in a pretty short period of time. Doubling back on that now, but I was like, oh, have you heard of this game StarTropics before? Because no one has really heard of StarTropics. And he was like, no. And originally he's like, I don't want to play it, but I kept pushing him for it, and I was like, come on, just give it a shot. So he played it, ended up liking it, and I was like, what if we could rotate the screen? Isn't that a cool idea? And he was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I was like, all right, let's just do that. So a lot of the inspiration, I feel like, for both of our projects that we kind of work on, it's a lot of seeing a game and saying, how can we put a twist on this and make it its own thing, and then going ahead with that.
Yeah, that's how most games are made too. Usually pull from a couple different ideas, maybe take some mechanics that you like to see and mix them together.
Well, at least especially nowadays, it's like there's so many games in the market. It's like to have an original idea is like making a new scale in music theory.
Yeah,
It's like it's impossible.
nearly
You're-
impossible.
yeah.
I mean, every popular game is that way. Like Minecraft took inspiration from Infominer, which was like, I mean, the reason why he kind of ripped from it is because Infominer was like a fighting game or something. So you like shoot each other and it was all blocks, but you couldn't like, there was no survival aspect to it. So he basically like just kind of recreated that same mechanic, but then made it like survival. So you could actually like have the build for a long time, keep building and make cool things. I don't know, a lot of games are that way.
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, a lot of people right now are complaining like, oh, every game is just a rehash of another game with something slapped on top of it. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, that's what does well, right? Because people are familiar with an idea, they want more of it, and I don't know, that's just kind of where it kind of leads to. So
Yeah, I mean the same things with music. Like, well, just backtracking to how this podcast started. I was one night, I'm like, oh, doing a podcast would be really sick, right? Because I did in like January 2019, but it was just a solo podcast. I'm like, I don't have any cool stories. I'm 19. Like, what have I done in life? I haven't done anything. But I'm like, all right, I want to actually like, because I've always wanted to be in the music scene. Like when in high school, it wasn't until like my senior year of high school, I'm like cybersecurity, because I got to do a cybersecurity class. So I did like all these coding classes, but I'm like, my frustrations with coding, like all the errors I get, it's like a less intense road rage for me, at least. But I don't know if it's like you guys, or you guys are just so advanced now. You're just like, oh, it's easy. I don't know why I missed this part.
No, it always happens.
It always happens.
Yeah.
The road rage never goes away.
It never goes away. It's just different things. Usually when you first start programming, you get stuck on something really small. I can't really list any examples, but then like every once in a while, I still like use the wrong variable and don't catch it for like 3 hours. I mean, it shouldn't take me that long, but it does. So
You're doing it in C#?
the Samurai game, yeah.
Nice. What's your other game?
C++.
And C++. I feel like doing that, I get the syntaxes mixed up way too much.
The syntax is actually pretty similar.
Well, that's why.
C# is based on, well, it's a C-based language. So.
Yeah. Do you find yourself getting slipped up on programming languages, Hayden?
absolutely, 100% of the time. I mean, that's where Mitch and I kind of differ, is that he's really into like, I don't know, the whole problem solving aspect of game development and like how do I achieve this end goal? Whereas I'm more of like, I want to see the end goal. And it's just, this is kind of a means to an end, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. It's like, how long have you been doing game development?
Long time.
Long time? What about you?
About 5 years.
5 years? Who's longer here?
Me, technically. I mean, I wasn't serious into it, but like back in elementary school, my local community college, they had some classes. And like I said, I was from the engineering family, so of course my father was like, all right, you should go and go mess around there, do something there. So he signed me up for like a game development class. So I was using like a software there that was really simple, like no coding, kind of like drag and dropping blocks.
Like
or
Scratch or something?
Yeah, very similar to like Scratch kind of sort of stuff. And it was really cool, but I couldn't go home and work on it because it was like a $300 software. You know what I mean? Like I was like, you know, in 5th grade, I didn't have any, money to spend on like this crazy software. So I was just kind of bouncing around for like all these like early free game engines. And then by the time I got to high school, I kind of settled on Game Maker Studio because that's what our high school kind of taught as like an introduction to coding. So I used that for a little bit, and then that's when I got kind of like serious into, I actually want to make a game professionally and release something other than just kind of mess around with stuff.
Do you have any other personal projects you're working on?
Oh, I always have like 3 or 4 in the air.
Have you published anything?
I mean, technically Mitch and I published a game together that was like a pinball game. It's nothing crazy.
We made that over a game jam though, so
Yeah.
within 48 hours. I mean, that was pretty fun.
Is that event held by the club?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were running it at the time, so we didn't want to like participate in it. Obviously, that'd be kind of unfair.
Right.
So we, as a team, all the people on like the executive board kind of got together and made a small project, and that's what we kind of released.
How many people were you, or were there?
4.
4.
Yeah.
How long have they been programming? Or
Well, I was the only one
Yeah.
that did the programming.
really?
Yeah, so I did the programming. Hayden did all of the art. Well, most of it. We had another person, Sasha. She made the music, and then we had Winter, who made the like box art. I guess I don't know. It was like since we did like a pinball machine, the screen was rectangular, like portrait mode. So then the other sides of the screen, we had art that she made that covered that part of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it looked like the side of the art on the machine.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, it's like one of the classic like arcade machines, just pinball. Have you guys, how many game jams have you guys done?
Actually participated in only a couple, just because I've been running all of them since. Same with Hayden.
Would you guys say that pinball one's your favorite one that you guys made?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I made a couple I didn't release. Probably the pinball one, just because it's the most functional, I guess. It's the longest
Yeah,
game.
it's definitely the most polished game jam game I've made. I don't know if it was my favorite working on it though. I think the mow power game I made, the lawn mowing game, I think that one was probably my favorite to work on, just because we got to add like a bunch of like super like power ups and stuff. So you'd like run over a squirrel and then you would get a power up. So we had like ones where you could like crash and burn through everything, or like use a shield or something. I don't know. It was fun to work on.
Lawnmower Simulator 2.0.
Oh, it was great.
That's awesome. Have you played that game?
No.
Have you?
I've heard of it, but
Dude,
I haven't played it.
If I want to go mow a lawn, I'll go mow a real one. I don't
Yeah.
need some simulator.
Yeah.
I've got a riding mower at my parents' house.
Or do you guys live for game development?
I'd say so.
Yeah. I
Live
mean,
by the sword, die by the sword.
I gotta take a break every once in a while, spend time with friends and
Yeah.
like play video games.
Would you guys say game development is like an obstacle with that?
Absolutely. It's really hard to like be able to get a lot of stuff done for a game because it's a huge time commitment, obviously.
Oh, and you got school too.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
it's like, your weekend comes up and it's like, do I want to like blow everybody off and sit in my room by myself and get stuff done and actually make progress, or do I want to enjoy my weekend and go out and
The problem with it too is that like people don't see it as like like a job. Because like, say that I have to go to work at Hy-Vee. Okay, like I go there for the day, I work 8 hours. Everyone isn't going to complain because I'm actually going somewhere and getting paid. Whereas if I want to work on my game, like, yeah, it's not like I'm not getting paid at the time. Hopefully I will be down the road if I sell my product. But people don't see it that way. So it's like, oh, I'm going to go work on my game for like 4 hours instead of working. Well, then it's like, oh, why don't you come hang out with me? Well, like, dude, I got to work on this because otherwise it's just never going to get done.
Yeah, it's like with anything. That's why I hate like a lot of modern thinking is now, right? It's like if I'm gonna get any benefit, it's gotta be now.
Instant satisfaction.
Yeah, instant satisfaction. And that, to me, my thought for that is like you have Facebook, Instagram. It's like, you post a picture where I'd be like, look how great my life is. I'm only gonna post the highlights, and I'm gonna get all this validation from everybody on the internet. It's like that. I feel is leading to less courage to jump into something that may or may not pay off. It all depends on your dedication and your drive and motivation to do it. And to me, it's like I like seeing successful people. I like people chasing their passions and like dreams. It's like even if game development doesn't work out, I'm still never gonna crap on like what you guys are doing, simply because you guys are saying I'm sacrificing time that could be spent having fun, partying, drinking, whatever you guys do for fun with friends, and putting it towards something that could end up being the next best thing or providing something great other than just scroll TikTok.
Right.
Like, it's like you guys are actually doing something. There's like, that's kind of like the whole point of this podcast. It's like I like highlighting people's lives where they're not just working a 9 to 5 and then going drinking beer, watching Netflix or whatever. And it's like I like helping promote that type of like lifestyle because like this. It's like, you know, it gives me something else to do. It's like I'm not just laying in bed watching TikTokers. I'm just like, I have another side hobby. This work and then school is like social time's limited, man. You guys probably feel the same way with your club and then
Yeah.
game development too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one benefit is like I wanted to come here and meet people like that, right? Because I didn't really know anybody like that back in high school or anything. So when I saw they had a game development club here, I'm like, oh, I'll meet a bunch of people just like me. So I came here, and that's how I met Mitch. So, you know, it's just you got to go and like actively search for those people. They're not going to just probably pop into your life. You got to look for them. But when you do, it's, you know, it's pretty fun when you get to relate to people on like that kind of level about your own projects in your free time.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys kick it off pretty easy then?
Yeah.
That's good. That's how you know a good friendship's gonna last.
Yeah.
It's out of that, or at least for me, it's like I end up just despising somebody, but then like 4 months later, I'm like, I was being kind of a turd, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's like either I hit it off great with somebody, or it's just like kind of like standoffish. I don't know. But
Well, it's like funny. Some of my best friends, I made fun of them when I met them, and now we're like best friends. It's just because at first they're like, "Wow, that guy's a jerk. I don't like him," but then like down the road, he warmed up to me. So
yeah, it's tough love.
yeah,
Yeah, because at first I only met you virtually until like,
I don't remember how we met. It was through class.
yeah, I think you're just in like one of the Discord servers, and I'm like, this guy keeps putting out like test cases for all the 227 projects, which was like, why am I looking at the camera? I was just for when like talking to the viewers, I want to like look at the camera and stuff. So it's like 227 is like intro to like object oriented programming, where it's like that's how like is that how a lot of like game development is object oriented
That's just coding in general, but yeah,
coding in general.
a lot of games are that way. Because think of like an object, like you're coding like a player that is an object, and then they have
True.
different ways they can act and stuff. So
Then you have all the environment physicalities and stuff.
yep.
Interesting. What guys would you say for classes have been most beneficial to you for what you're doing?
I'd say 327 was pretty beneficial. So instead of taking 288, the Roomba class, 327 was advanced programming, and that was where we made a game. Which, I mean, I already knew how to do that, but it was more of like going into depth on like C++ and pointers and stuff. I think it was pretty beneficial to get that like knowledge of like how that stuff worked better. Because then now that I'm building an actual game out of C++, using that, like having that background knowledge is pretty beneficial. So,
What about you, Hayden?
Never heard of a beneficial class for game development. Never heard of it.
well, there's beneficial classes for programming and then game development is a little different. But I mean, it's the same like concepts I can carry over.
Do you guys make friends with like the people over in like, I don't know, industrial design or something like that to draw you up like a quick sketch of like a graphic that could be in the game? So I feel like that'd be like a beneficial resource. Because like my old roommate was an industrial design major and he could draw like perfect. And I'm like, I just look at my little doodling I did in class was like something stupid. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna show him. He's drawing like extravagant, like a hand or something, or like a scissors or hair dryer, but it's like it's legit neat. Like he's doing like a 3D space and everything. I'm like, I don't get it. I can barely draw a freaking stick figure, dude. But do you guys have like art friends at all that help you?
I would love to meet some art friends, but the problem is I'm the art guy.
Hayden is my art friend.
Yeah.
That's
So
tough.
yeah.
When we work together, typically it's me doing all the programming and stuff and Hayden doing all the art. Because I can't, I mean, I can draw a little bit, but it gets really boring really quick, especially when you're drawing the same animation over and over, which Hayden also has to do that, but he doesn't like hate it as much as I do. Whereas it's like the other way around with programming. Like Hayden, I would say probably gets bored of programming more than I would. So I don't know. They're both
Just
big
works
parts
out.
of game development, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. You gotta have unless you're doing a text-based game. I mean, probably the art's just as important as the coding, at least in an indie studio. Would you guys consider yourselves an indie studio?
Well, technically we are, because I actually went and did the paperwork for a company. So I have a company. Shout out to my company, Bit Basement.
Bit Basement?
Bit Basement, yeah.
BIT Basement. Do you have Instagram for that? You want to plug in? I can
No,
do, like, a
I don't
little
have any
visual.
social media right now. So
Oh, you have a Twitter account that you don't
it's,
use.
It's dead. It's a dead Twitter account. I don't remember what the ad is because it got like
It's
goofed
at
up.
Basement Bit.
Yeah, is that what it is right now?
Yeah.
I have to change that.
So you notice how I know that, not the guy that owns the company.
Feels like ownership should be transferred. Or at least a co-owner or something. Holy cow.
But yeah, so right now we're trying to like get this project to a point where we can start posting about it because it's not really quite there yet. And then that way, then we can start setting up more social media accounts, posting on TikTok, doing all that sort of marketing stuff. The other issue is this game's going to be a free game, we think. At least right now, no promises, but right now we think we're going to release it for free, and then maybe
The main focus for us is going to be like getting traction and getting people aware of the company as well as just us in general. So that if we do go make another product, at least like then we know that there is a following of people that would be willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting.
because
So sorry to cut you off, but I feel almost doing a free game first, or you're still like working out. I mean, I'm not saying you guys work bad as team, but figuring out exactly how you can be totally efficient with your guys' team development. Have like the first one be free, it's kind of like a demo, but like have it be like a really good game too. So that way you can build up this fan base. So then it's almost like extra motivation to help you guys develop the next one, or if you guys do like paid DLC or something for this one, that'd be sick.
yeah, that's not a bad idea actually.
It's not.
Yeah.
I'm the idea guy, dude. Like I am the Steve Jobs of this operation. I'm kidding. I'm not gonna. If you guys ever want input, just shoot an idea my way. I love spitballing ideas. Even if I have no, that's my problem. Sometimes I know nothing. I'm just like still like to talk about it. That's the problem. Are you guys the same way? No.
just stay with the spitballing ideas.
Even though you know nothing about it.
Oh, no, not necessarily.
We spitball ideas all the time. Just sometimes they're not good and we just forget about it. But it's just how it is.
Do you guys come up with stuff that's more frequently integrated or not integrated
What do you mean?
in terms of good ideas versus bad ideas?
I don't say that we would have a lot of ideas that are good or bad necessarily. It's more of like, what do we have time for in like the scope of the project that we can include? What's the most important thing that we should include? What's the most important idea that we should include? Because right now, like we have like a document that just has tons of ideas and tons of concepts that we want to include. But we're looking at it, we're like, there's no way we're going to get all of this done. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're like, all right, what do we have to cut out? What's like, they're all good ideas. What's the worst good idea that we need to cut out or can cut out of the game without ruining
Yeah.
it?
We got to limit our scope. That's like one of the things that we talk about a lot in the game development club is having a scope. Every game needs it, even big studios. Because like if we don't have a scope, you're just going to keep adding stuff forever and ever because you're never going to be satisfied with how it is. That's just how it works with almost everyone. So it gets to the point where we need to set like a hard deadline or a hard cutoff and be like, all right, this is it. We're not going to add any more things. But then the nice thing about the scope is that we can lower it if we need to, like because if we want a deadline of like the end of the semester. So like if we're running out of time and we can't get things done, then hopefully we can cut out things that we don't necessarily need. That would be cool, but just so at least it's done and we have a game.
So how often do you find yourself trimming fat?
Constantly.
Yeah, all the time.
I mean, the process he was just talking about is called scope creep. Like, it actually has a term. It's so bad. It's like the #1 killer of most video game projects. I had a game that I worked on for like 7 years. I ended up having to just stop working on it because it just got too out of hand. And there was just too much that I wanted to add on to it and too much I wanted to do with the project. And I just said, I have to just like move on, go work on something else instead, and, just let it kind of slide.
That's gotta be hard to just let your baby die like that, though.
It is, and it haunted me for a while. And I mean, it was a pretty promising project, if I do say so myself. A lot of people were like, "Dude, why are you killing this game off? This is so cool." And I was like, "I'm never gonna finish it."
I was the guy that was like, "Dude, why are you still working on this? It's been 7 years."
You're the devil in his
I was
ear,
the
like,
voice of reason.
Yeah. No, but I mean, having 7 years worth of work, I mean, sure as crap. Like, if you go to career fair and be like, you'd probably almost get hired on the spot, no?
No.
What?
I'm looking for jobs
No.
right now because I
What?
need money, and like I talk to people because like my resume is all game development stuff. And I'm not applying for game development. I like applying for software engineering because I don't want to go and do game development all day and then come home and have to
All
do
right.
more game development on my own projects. So that's kind of like what I'm looking at right now. But yeah, they look at my resume and they go, oh, like, that's great. You can do like rendering and 3D models and all this other stuff. But, you know, we're looking for a guy to just make a website. You know, that's not what we're looking for. So they say, nope, we don't care. So that's just kind of how it is right now.
Yeah, that's happened to me a little bit as well. I mean, I've done a couple other side projects that are thankfully not game development related, which kind of help with that. But like every once in a while, I get that interviewer and they see the game development stuff and they're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool," but then they're like, "Oh, it's not really relevant." So that's why almost sometimes I'm tempted just to have two resumes, one for game development, like focused, and one with no game development stuff on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have totally thought that was like not the case at all. Because like if I see someone that like let's say they're like a NASCAR pit crew members, like they know their way around the car. But if I'm gonna hire them to just be like an everyday mechanic, I don't know. What do I know about it? See, this is the problem. I spitball on stuff I don't even know anything about. But I don't know. I just take it as just like at least you're so familiar with coding. It's like if like let's say the hiring manager is like, oh, God forbid they know something about anything other than HR stuff. It's like if I can look at someone and be like they make clean code, I feel like that's the problem. Like at least with me, when I'm in coding, I do not comment anything. And then people look at my code, they're like, "Can you explain what's going on here?" I'm like, "It works."
Not commenting is only fine if your code is set up that it's readable to a point. Like if you have an if statement and use like variables in it that make it somewhat human readable.
Yeah.
So if you have like is or like if, and then in parentheses like is walking. I mean, it's pretty obvious to tell what the if statement is doing.
Yeah.
But like if you just have like if x, like what is x?
Right. Okay.
And then you got to explain it. But
So do you guys use a lot of comment in your codes?
Uh,
I try to just because for a couple of reasons. One, if Hayden needs to look at it for some reason, at least if there's comments in there, he can read it. And then two, like say that I worked on some code with our like Samurai game, for example, for like the movement. Like I just had a bug with it the other day, and I haven't worked on this code in like a month. So I've forgotten exactly how it works, and so having those comments and stuff, making it readable is nice because I can go back and try to figure it out again without like having to actually read the code. It'd be a big pain in the butt.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're working with people, it's really important that you actually comment your code out. Because if I'm going to go back and look at Mitch's code, I have to read the code. I don't have to, you know, learn like what's going on, stuff like that. But if I have a comment there, I can kind of just read the comment and go, oh, okay, that's the general gist of this. I kind of get what this specific part does. I don't have
Yeah.
to worry about this part.
Well, yes. I'll say the one time I do comment code is when I'm working in group projects. But the problem is like if I show an employer my code from a project I worked on like 2 years ago in class, they're like, "Can you tell me what's going on here?" Just like real quick. I'm like for the Roomba class, I don't remember what any of that code does. I know it works, but that's the catch-22. It's like maybe I need to start doing that.
Well, yeah, that's something they look for too.
Yeah.
They just employers want to know that you like have that skill, I guess. I don't know.
Analyzing code and breaking it down.
Yeah, because well, that's part of working at a company is that you're going to be working with a team. You're like
Yeah.
if you're working at unless it's a startup, you're going to be coming to a code base that's been written by tens, if not hundreds of people before, and you have no idea what it does. So then you got to figure it out. And then in addition to that, you got to leave it in a state that is the same state or better. Like, you know, you got to comment what you write just so that the next person that comes can also figure it out the same way.
Yeah. I'll say in senior design, I am the commenting guy. Not to make myself sound like a terrible employee for any future employers listening. I am looking for a job also.
The documentation guy.
I'm becoming the big documentation guy. And sadly, also the guy explaining the stuff to people that don't want to read the comments that I made.
You could put that in your resume, that you're like really proficient in documentation, because that is a really like that's a big deal. I know with like Collins Aerospace, for example, I've heard people that work there, and I think as you like later years, you focus more on documentation than you do actually like programming, like the junior programmers would do.
See, that's like the thing I'm stuck at right now. It's like I've taken enough CPRE and SE classes to where, sure, I could get a software engineering job, but my major is cybersecurity, right? So I'm like, what do I want to do here? Because like another side hustle idea I have is like I think making smart home tech that is more focused on automation rather than ease of use. Like, let's say I walk into a room. This is more based on like embedded systems. I want to walk into a room, like let's say there's like a little light sensor, just like a little laser beam that you can't see, just like a cat laser. Then like a light receptor on the other end. If that's broken, well, someone's coming in or out of the room, right? But if you have two sets of them, then you can have bi-directional use, right? So like stuff like that. So it's like you don't even have to hit a switch or anything. You just walk in, walk out, on, off, right? So
Yeah,
I
but
think
what if there's like multiple people?
you have a counter?
Yeah, but how do you know if they're going in or out? What if one person walks in, then another person walks in, and then then that's two. But how do you
Yeah,
know?
but you have two sets. So then that's bi-directional.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. This is probably
It seems really complicated though, because then how do you like if you have two doors on the complete other end of the room? How do you like? You'd have to wire them up somehow together.
how do you depict two players apart in game development?
That's different because the game engine knows exactly where everything is at all times. You don't have to like use sensors in real life to
It's
detect
just two
it.
different structs.
Well, it's not the same.
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. See, spitballing another idea. I have no idea. But that's I don't know. That's one of my ideas, at least. I think it'd be cool because my biggest pet peeve of like modern smart home equipment is it collects so much data,
Yeah.
and it's just like the Google Home or the Alexa. It's like yeah, they advertise it for $1 or whatever it is, but you still have to pay the shipping and stuff. But why is something that great only $1? Data mining. They just sell data. That's how Jeff Bezos is a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
That's how he gets to go to the moon for fun. Wish I could go to the moon for fun. That'd be kind of neat. Not gonna lie. But I don't know. It makes me wonder. It's like targeted advertising now is bigger than it's ever. Well, obviously, as we go into the future and become more, electronically dependent on our devices and stuff, it's just more data they can create, and that's why actually federal agents, anyone with like a secret clearance or any security clearance at all, cannot have TikTok on their phone or work phone at all. Because my buddy was telling me about this, is like generates 3 gigabytes of metadata a day,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of concerning a little bit. But it's like if you think about Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, all this stuff does it too, but not to the extent TikTok does, apparently. But
It's also foreign.
yeah,
Which
well, that's a big reason for it. But the fact it generates so much metadata, I think, is the reason why. Because like if you have something foreign but is only like local on your phone and just pulls data from the internet and never sends unless you're like uploading a video or whatever, then why would it matter?
yeah.
I mean, I think the big issue with like smart home equipment that I've kind of seen is like the company goes out of business, then your smart home equipment is useless, right? And you have it all wired into your house and everything at that point, and it's kind of a big issue. There's a lot of companies now that like all of their services or all their devices attach to something on the internet, and then they go out of business because there was some experimental company, they're a startup or something, and then now all this merchandise you bought for thousands of dollars is all completely useless.
I totally agree with that, but in my head, I'm like, I want this all to be LAN based. So the only time you're gonna have to ever do anything is download an update to your phone, then plug it into like the main hub part, and then it'll distribute the
Yeah, that
update
would be nice.
to whatever.
Yeah.
So then because my biggest thing is like hacking and data breaches are also the next biggest thing. Because like, let's say my company has a data breach and now I'm connected to everybody's home devices. Well, now they have access to all your home devices. It's like that's not good. But if everyone has their own LAN thing and on the website, or it's like if it's like let's say you're just buying the installation package and it's like, hey, also if you'd like to get them via text, email, call whatever notification you want to go to the website and download it to your phone, or maybe there's an app on the App Store that connects to your phone and you can download it via there. Probably an app would probably be the easiest, but I don't know. This is just a continuation of a spitball idea I had since like 2018, but I've never like actually sat down and put it in motion. But it's like I'm just in my head, grandmaster scheming this right now, live on the podcast.
Somebody's gonna steal it.
Somebody is going to steal. Well, I think a company has already done something very similar that I need to look more into, but I have a very specific way of how I want to do this. Like, I think having like a Raspberry Pi is like the main hub that with like a tablet hooked up to it so you can see like all the different devices and everything. And you can be like, you can just turn it off, turn on, whatever, edit the settings and stuff from like a main central hub. It's like, I like the idea of, like I said, local area networks that aren't totally connected to your phone. So it's like if you, the only way you can hook up to your phone is via a lightning cable or USB-C, whatever. And it's not connected to the internet. It's just all local area. No one can hack that unless they're in your house.
Yeah.
So your safety goes up tenfold, right? It doesn't matter if you have AES bit or AES 128-bit encryption, whatever that takes a key to crack 2 times 10 to the 18th years, something crazy like that, something you can never accomplish in your life, right? But it's like you can, if you get like a whole like server farm or just zombie computer farm where you have like 50 computers working on like 3090s or 4090s generating X amount of hashes per second, you probably could crack it. Yeah. But that costs how many thousands upon thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. That's my reason for the local area network on that. But back to you guys. What has there been like any game other than like the obviously, you know, your Legend of Zelda and StarTropics. What was like your biggest kick in the butt to be like, oh, game design? Like just in general, not for this specific one.
Would you elaborate?
Like what made you want to go into game development? Like was there a specific game or moment in your life that were like, this is what I want?
My origin story.
Your origin story. We'll start with you, then we'll go to Hayden.
Okay, so Hayden talked about him getting into game development a little bit. My first kick was in 4th grade. We were doing this like class simulation, which we called like Barney's bathtub because we were 4th graders. I don't know, it was funny. But everyone got different jobs and stuff, right? And then you got measured on your success based on how much money you made, blah, blah, blah. Well, I got the doctor role, but I really wanted the game designer role because I thought that was cool because it's like video games. And no, some other kid in the grade got it, and I was like really mad about it. And so then I like knew from that day that I wanted to make video games, even though I was the doctor. Like I don't know, I've kind of had that same mentality. Not saying that I'm still holding a grudge, because I'm not. I really don't care. But like I'd rather as a job, I'd rather be doing something that makes me happy, and which game development does, than something that I'm making a lot of money. And I'm just miserable every day I go to work. But I don't know. I've still had that same mentality. And then just to like bank on what Hayden said earlier, I didn't really have the same type of like stuff at my disposal because my dad like isn't a nerd at all. I mean, he played video games a little bit when he's younger, just like every other kid. But like I didn't get a computer till like 7th grade, and even then it was a 32-bit Windows 7 like laptop. It was a piece of crap, but it worked. And like immediately after that, I got like a textbook, and I started learning how to program on that thing. I couldn't even get Unity on it because it was 32-bit. So like I had to learn everything just with like raw C# using like Windows forms to make stuff. I mean, but I mean, eventually time went on. I ended up getting a better computer, and I was able to actually kind of make more cool stuff and venture out further than just some forms on my computer. But
you heard that right? Just switch your computer to 32-bit. You won't have to use Unity anymore.
32-bit was so brutal, man.
I bet it was.
I had the only browser that was on there was what's it called? Internet Explorer. Oh, dude, it was so bad. But,
that's the worst.
Hey, man, that's how I got started. That's how I got started into game development, though, was that computer. So
I respect that.
Yeah.
Anything you want to elaborate on for your own origin story?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I got into game development more seriously in high school. And that was mainly because I saw this movie called Indie Game the Movie. Have you heard of that before? Mm-hmm. It's this movie that came out, I don't know what year. It had to be like early 2000s, mid 2000s more. And it was about these game developers who made a bunch of games for like the Xbox 360 game console. It was kind of like the first wave, I'd say, of independent developers that really kind of like blew up. So it was a game called Super Meat Boy. It was a game called Fez, and they talked about a little bit about a game called Braid. And they're all kind of like platforming independent games. And that movie was really inspirational because I was like, at the time, I didn't know that one person could make an entire game. But in that movie, and now that I look back at it, that wasn't really true. But in the movie, they portray these people who are making these games all by themselves, all the struggles they go through, and how they come out on top and make these games that are huge now and are really well respected. All these developers who are in that movie are very well respected, except for one of them. He kind of like went off on social media and hasn't really been heard of since. But I don't know. After that, I was like, oh, I really want to make something. So I went to high school, and there was this free game engine we were using, and I was like, okay, well now I can actually mess with something in my free time because it's free and accessible. And while I was in that class, I made a game, and I won a couple of awards for like best design of the class, stuff like that like my classmates gave me, but the teacher failed me on that project. She completely bombed it because she didn't play any video games. And she'd never heard of like a role-playing game before. So I made like a turn-based kind of like RPG. She was like, what is this? How does this work? She couldn't figure out how to like get past the menu or like what button to click. Because everyone just made like the basic game and they swapped some art out, that we'd already learned how to make in class. But I was coming in after school. I was working on it. I got like really into it. And then I get my grade back and I like failed the, final project and I barely passed the class. And Mitch was like, yeah, I'm not vengeful about anything. I'm very vengeful. I'm like, one day I want to march back into that school and be like, yes, I am a successful game developer, and you failed me, and look at me now.
But see, maybe it's important you have that motivation because if you didn't, who knows where you'd be? It's like that's kind of a nice thing to look back on. It's like it's nice to have kind of like that spite, just to like prove them wrong. But it's also like you said, a lot of stuff can be like a double-edged sword. When just modern society, it's just how you choose to perceive it. Are you gonna just hate someone for saying that, or are you just gonna prove them wrong? Proving people wrong, I love it. I love doing it. It's just like one thing I'll never do is like people are like, oh, you're not gonna be a band. I'm like, watch me. I'm not gonna be in a band. I mean, doing a little side gig as a band or whatever would be sick because I play a guitar. Yeah, you don't know, but that's okay. But yeah, there's literally. I'll just do a quick little side diversion story here. Like. We did this college fair because I'm from Quad Cities, and at St. Ambrose it was a private Catholic college or whatever, and they had a college fair come in. So it was like University of Iowa, State, UNI, all these different colleges around the local Midwest around Iowa, and I was so fixated on playing guitar, and I'm gonna tell this word for word because this is the story that my mom remembers too, because. Me and my mom were like going at it, and I'm like, I do not want to go to college. I'm done. But I had like a 3.8 GPA in high school, so it's like I wasn't dumb. I just hated going to class. I'm like, I just want to have fun. I want to, because I feel like it was a blessing and a curse. Do you know Motley Crue?
Yeah.
Do you know Motley Crue?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. When I was 14, they took me to go see Motley Crue final tour concert or whatever, and 14-year-old me was like, that's fucking sick, right? Like, dude, they were shooting like flames from their bass. They were lighting the Devil Star on fire. Not that I'm a Satanist or anything, but it was just so cool to just see this big, whatever the hell, flamethrower attached to this bass, lighting something on fire, and they're waving it around to the beat of the song. I'm like, dude, that's so sick, man. Just pyrotechnics just galore. It was so sick. And then their lead guitarist, Mick Mars, he has ankylosing spondylitis, has like this little curvature with a fused disc in his vertebrae in the back. Sucks for him. He actually just retired. Not rest in peace, but rest in peace to his career. Very good, drawn out career. But I'm like, that guitar is sick. I want to play like him. So I literally got like the same style of guitar he did. Then Rage Against the Machine's Tom Morello, same type of guitar. There's a Fender Stratocaster. I don't know if you guys are big guitar guys at all, but no. Why waste time on that? You're game developers, right?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. Is I'd love to learn instruments like piano and stuff, but that's just another time commitment. And like, why would I spend time on doing that when I could spend time working on a game or like actually trying to get somewhere with it?
Yeah.
So,
anyways, so I feel like that was like the one thing because I was like, that is cool as shit, right? Like seeing all the flames and stuff, them just rocking out, right, in front of like thousands of people. Like people paid like $80 each to be here. I'm like, that's But I mean, that's also 30 years of development of their brand and band, right?
Yeah.
So right after that, I started playing guitar. I played the guitar throughout high school. I didn't take lessons, and like lessons suck. I just played Rocksmith. I don't know if you guys know the game or heard of the game Rocksmith, but it's like Guitar Hero for real guitar. You learn how to. It's like obvious on easy. You're not playing all the notes. It's like, oh, this single note plays 15 of them. But eventually, as you progress, it automatically adds in as you continue mastering bit by bit. And by the senior year, I wouldn't say I'm as good, or I was as good as I am now. Obviously, it's been like 5 years, but I was so fixated on it. Like by the time this college fair came, I keep calling it career fair because it's next week, but I literally went to all these colleges and I'm like, "Do you guys offer music?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Do you make them learn theory, like music theory?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "No." To this day, I'm still like anti-theory just because for me, my hobby is just picking it up and playing to whatever tabs or whatever. And I hate killing that. But anyways, at this college fair, my mom was like, "You need to stop just being such a little turd to these colleges." They're recruiters, dude. It's not their job. But I kept just being like getting so annoyed at these people. I'm like, you guys just need to like just make a better music major or whatever. And eventually we left because my mom was probably tired of dealing with my shit. And when we're walking out of there, she's like, "Well, you got to figure out whatever you're gonna do in college." I'm like, "No, I don't. I can't help all these other people who are so fucking stupid." That's probably on this day I do not die on this hill. I do not die on that hill. That was me being a freaking emotional 17, 18-year-old me, whatever I was at the time. And now I'm in college, no, I don't feel smart at all. I don't feel smarter than anybody. Like I feel pretty much middle in the pack, right? Just like, I'm friends with you and meeting you. It's like you guys are way up here compared to me in terms of game development, though. But at that time, I don't know. I was floating through high school. I don't know if you guys felt the same. Did you guys feel the same, just floating through it?
I definitely didn't float. I don't know. I had my struggles.
Really?
I mean, I had a 3.78, so about the same GPA.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did a lot of stuff in high school. My parents had me do a lot of things, which I definitely am thankful for. Like, it was nice having all those experiences, but it also meant, like, I had, like, no free time. So, but no, I wanted to bring back, because I know you talked about, like, oh, why don't you make a better music program? Because one of the things I think about often is, like, with game development, like, I don't know if Hayden feels the same way, but, like, say that if I ever, like, won the lottery or made a game that, like, blew up and I sold it or whatever, made money, I would love to just go back to a high school or even Iowa State and just be, like, a game development, like, teacher or professor. Like, I think it'd be really cool because then hopefully I would have time to work on stuff in my free time just for fun, in addition to being able to teach other people and get them, like, into it, as well as also, like, having that background experience and actually know what I'm talking about and not having a teacher like Hayden that doesn't even know how to play video games. Right. So it'd be so nice to have, like, I think from the student's perspective, I think they would like that a lot. In high school, I feel like high school would be a little different, though. It'd probably be a lot of students that just, like, take it because it's more fun than doing, like, gym class or whatever, which gym class is pretty fun, though. But you get the point. But, like, in college, that would definitely be pretty beneficial as well. So,
Would you just come back to Iowa State, or you try and go for like an Ivy League level?
It depends. I like Iowa State because it's close to home. Then I can still be close to my family. Plus, I'm going here now, so, like, I have a lot of respect for the university and the people that work here. So, if I got to that point, but, like, that's also a big if. There's a lot of things that got to happen for me to get to that point. Or, like, if I just flat out wanted to do it as a career in general, I'd still have to come back and do stuff for, like, teaching or whatever. I don't know what it takes to be a professor, but I'm sure I haven't done any of it. So
To be a teacher in high school, I think it's at least a bachelor's, but to teach certain things, a master's, I think.
Yeah, and you usually need to have like your teaching license. That's the big thing, right?
yeah, the teaching license. Well, you don't need to go to college for that, I'm pretty sure.
But usually if you're going to teach a specific like history, for example, you need to have like a bachelor's in history and your teaching license, usually something like that.
Well, that's the problem with my high school in Cedar Rapids is that they just introduced the computer science classes, I think, to the college or to the high school.
Really?
Yeah. Like with
How recent?
like my junior year of college or high school, sorry. Like that was the first year of computer science. So I took it. I took both years. And the teacher we had, I mean, she's a little older, so she took computer science in college, but that was when they were teaching basic. So like she's a little out of touch when it comes to learning like JavaScript or Java. I don't know. It'd be nice to have somebody that's a little more in the know.
Or at least teaching Python or something.
Yeah. Well, we had like online courses. She was just moderating basically. We would just like complete like Code Academy things or whatever.
Yeah, that's how my intro to web design was. Just like, hey, go do free code camp or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was close. Well, a lot of I don't know if your computer science stuff was, but it was like dual credit for the local community college.
Yeah, mine was too.
Yeah. Did you do any high school coding classes, Hayden?
I did. I actually, because I had some experience in coding and stuff like that, I did like the kind of full course, the full curriculum of as many coding classes that I could take that they had available at the time. So it was like freshman year, first semester was like a robotics class. It wasn't really robotics. Have you heard of like the Lego robotics stuff that they have?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like a really big like introduction to coding thing they do at a lot of schools now, where they have like these old Lego kits, and then they basically I think it's like a hack for them. I don't think it's actually a part of like Lego, but
No, Mindstorms?
yeah.
No, that's official Lego. I
Yeah,
think they're discontinuing it, but
not. It wasn't like using the Mindstorm software and doing drag and drop. It was like
Oh.
Java scripting.
No. Well, I don't know actually.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was like this own program. Somebody wrote some sort of program where it would get into the code of the robot, and you could rewrite it and stuff like that in Java, which was kind of interesting, but it was very bare bones, very basic. And then I went into the game development class, which I already talked a little bit about that. And that was more kind of like drag and drop, kind of like not actual coding. It's like you drag in like an if,
Right.
if this, then do this kind of thing. And then I had some classes in Java, but I didn't know what I was doing for those classes. Like when I came to college, I would say by the time I got to college, I was kind of like finally figuring it out. But for like the first Java class I took, we just had like a textbook that they gave us, and they're like, learn Java. And I'm like, oh, I don't even know what like coding is. So I kind of stumbled through it. I got like a lot of help. I had to have like a friend like basically code one of the projects for me because I didn't understand like what a constructor it was or what a variable was, all this stuff. And over time, I eventually figured it out, obviously. But yeah, it was rough, man. But yeah, that was kind of my experience with coding in high school.
It was kind of funny. I started learning how to program in sophomore year. So when I finally had a class junior year, I believe that was when we did Java and stuff. And there were a lot of the concepts that I taught to the rest of the class, and the teacher like couldn't wrap her head around just because I had already been coding with it, or with C#, which is about the same anyway. So it was just kind of funny.
Yeah. So you didn't even get paid. You're just teaching for
I know,
free.
unofficial TA. That's my title I've had for the last 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Your entire college career for coding, dude.
I know.
Yeah. Because you were, funny enough, I was taking like 228 over the summer. Mitch was taking, or right after Mitch and I took 227. And we got to like linked lists. And like the homework for that was ridiculous. You had like sub nodes and everything. Like, I don't even know what's going on. To this day, I don't use linked lists for anything. But
You might eventually.
maybe.
Maybe for your plant thing.
True. You never know. I'm going to come across like some crap. Be like, should have paid attention to 20. The problem is, if I would do college differently, I would take no summer or winter classes at all, simply because of the fact I'm doing it for the fact of speed running it. Okay. And I feel like now I say that now after I've done it literally every winter and summer of my entire college career, I've been gas pedal the whole time, and it's showing. The car is breaking down, the gas, we're past zero. Somehow the car is still in the rolling motion to the gas station. And I don't know, I would just advise like not taking winter or summer classes unless it's like a gen ed or something that you just don't care about.
Yeah, I've only taken gen eds during winter summer. Like English. I took all my English classes over the summer just because they're like easy, and I honestly could care less.
Yeah. Like you're not writing a book. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is nice for like some of the technical stuff, but like they haven't really added much to my knowledge base from what I
No.
learned in high school. Like other than the like APA formatting, like what else have I learned that I didn't already know from English classes?
Yeah. It's just rehashing stuff you already know.
Yeah.
Did you take any summer or winter courses your time here?
I took like, let's see, an English class, and at the local community college by me, I took, what was it? It was like a public speaking class. Yeah, that's what it was. That was interesting. The professor did not like me for that one. She was trying to fail me like actively in that class. I was trying. She was like, "You're too confident. You're too charismatic." I'm like, "What? You can be too charismatic for public speaking?" She's like, "Yeah, it's too much." So I don't know. It was interesting, but
Or are you a YouTuber in real life or
I,
what? You know, like, hey guys, welcome to da 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 da.
I don't know. It was something like that. I don't know. I was just saying what I needed to say. I was smiling,
Uh,
trying to make good eye contact with the camera, as as good eye contact you can with a lens. But
In this presentation, I'm going to give $5,000 to each one of the viewers.
it's just something so absurd. The teacher's like, F. But no, it's weird. Like, I've never met anybody who's been too, like, you just seem fine now. I don't know. Maybe you're just putting on a facade right now. I have no idea.
It's like it's the Elvis effect. When he gets nervous, he like puts the energy into being positive and stuff. I don't know.
I don't know. I suck at public speaking. But it's like, see, that seems weird because we're doing this, but it's like, when it's just like one-on-one or one-on-two or whatever, or just when we're all friends, it's like, I have no problem. But when it comes to like speaking to people I don't know,
Yeah.
down the drain.
I kind of like doing it, depending on what I'm talking about. If I know what I'm talking about, like if I could, like if I did like a 10-minute presentation on something game development related.
It'd be 10 minutes would be 1 minute.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like with the game development club, like a lot of our meetings are like an hour of just Hayden or I or both of us talking, and like I can totally do that because it's something I'm passionate about. But then with like speech class, I got to talk about like road conditions in Des Moines, Iowa. Like I don't care about it. I have to do research. I have to memorize all this stuff only for me to forget it like a week later. Like, let me talk about something I like. I mean, because in the real world, with my job, for example, in the VRAC on campus, like if I were to go give a speech on one of my papers, like it's something I've worked on. It's something I'm very familiar with, and I would like could totally give a talk about it, just because But my speech in speech class about road conditions is not going to change anything.
No. Did you feel the same way, Hayden?
about like speech class and giving speeches.
Did you get because for my speech class in high school, it was like, pick whatever you want to talk about under this very broad, like an issue or like a potential project or something like that, where it's like you're isolated, not just talking about anything, like how you and your grandma went on a walk through the forest the other day, but to just like a category of what you could talk about. Like how was yours?
It was pretty open ended. Some of them were like, okay, you have to talk about a specific moment in your life that like this happened, or maybe like summarize the specific book that we're going to give you or something. But a lot of it, at least for this college class, was like, yeah, you can pick something in this general ballpark and just kind of figure it out. I think I did a cybersecurity talk because I was like, I don't want to be a total nerd and talk about game development. I'll do this. Like, oh, you're at risk for getting viruses. Do this to protect yourself, kind of thing like that.
You're just a walking banner for Norton or McAfee.
That's where I cited all my evidence from. So found it on their webpage.
Nice. You just go to the wiki for Norton.
Pretty much. I'm like, hey, they make the software. They're I can't say the word reputable source.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the speeches that I had to do, they had to be like I forgot how they explain it. It had to be like a problem in society or something, or a solution. It'd be one of the two. So I couldn't just talk about game development because it's not really a problem, and it's not really a solution to anything. Like unless I really am grabbing for straws. But I could talk about like addiction to like video games or something because that's something that's perceived as a problem in society. So like I think I did do a speech on something similar. Just like I'd give a speech on like screen time and how it affects people, and how it's like typically not good if you spend over like X number of hours on a screen, which I'm guilty of, but I do it anyways.
Yeah, you just identify the problem, you don't solve it.
I know, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That reminds me, dude. I remember doing like this presentation where like honors literature, language arts, whatever in middle school. And I'm not gonna lie, I predicted VR and the haptic suits and everything. I'm like, how cool would it be like if you were like in a game but not in a game, but you could feel like everything going on. 6th or 7th grade me thought of that. Well, I'm sure most of gamers did.
People have been dreaming about that forever, though. I mean,
Yeah.
we just haven't had the technology until recently.
Yeah. Which is crazy. We're all just the next Steve Jobs, apparently, thinking about the next thing, but the technology isn't there.
Yeah. Dude, it's so crazy to think about. Like 100 years ago, there wasn't any of this, like at all.
Dude,
It's
you're
just
telling
crazy
me.
how advanced, like
Yeah.
how fast people advance stuff.
Like this is nuts. Like all the equipment in front of us, like the cameras and stuff, is like when was I don't even know when the first picture was taken with like a camera.
Oh, I don't know.
Like think of how crazy that is. And then these cameras, we have 3 cameras hooked up to one recording file with 3 microphones. It's all nuts. It's nuts, and then it's all switching naturally. Like if you start talking, it's gonna switch to you. If you start talking, it's gonna switch to you. And it's nuts. It blows my mind the fact that it's like our grandparents are so technology illiterate. At least mine are. I have to help them all the time, but being the loving grandson I am, coming in and save the day like a little hero, I'm like Superman in their world.
I know. My grandma texts me every once in a while. What's my Wi-Fi password again? Text it to her. I'm like, it's written on your fridge.
It's written on your fridge. I'll come over and write it bigger next time. I haven't been asked about that, but I've been asked about like notifications on phones and stuff. I'm like, oh, you just want your notifications turned off? Okay, it's like stuff like that. But no, well, you come from a big engineering family. You probably can't relate to that at all.
Well, it's kind of scary when like I can't figure something out, so I have to like go talk to my dad, and he'll like come over and he'll be like fixing my computer for me. Like so that's kind of almost embarrassing to a degree. I mean, my grandparents are tech illiterate, and I usually go over there and help them too. But yeah, it's kind of scary with that sort of stuff. But I don't know.
It's the opposite for me. My dad has paid me a few times to fix stuff for him.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
Like
what?
literally all it boils down to is me watching some YouTube video and just like problem solving it. But like he didn't have to do it, so.
Yeah. See, that's like my thing. Like my cousin just got a PC, like pre-built PC. Keep in mind, I'm not saying he built the thing, because like I could figure it out by watching a YouTube video. I've only bought pre-builts or had my friends build it, and I just watched. And they're like, "We're not gonna follow the manual. We're gonna call Ryan." And I'm like, "Can you just, I don't want to spend 3 hours being like, oh, download the GeForce Experience." Like I had to tell them that and everything.
Yeah.
It's like they did like zero research on anything. They just asked me. It's like I like talking about this stuff, but it's like to learn something new. It's like I feel like you genuinely have to like care about it and do your own research with it or watch YouTube videos or something. You can't just rely on other people to be like, well, do this and do that. Because at this point, you're just a robot. You're just
Right.
in out. You're not retaining anything. There's nothing that stays in there.
That's something I've picked up from learning programming over the years, just from like because I never had anybody to look up to since my dad wasn't into technology or anything. I didn't know anybody else. Like I didn't have any like close family friends that were. I guess my aunt like kind of is. She was a computer science major in college, but like I never talked to her about it. So when it came to like learning that stuff, I would always have to rely on internet or like YouTube videos or textbooks and having to like compile everything myself and figure it all out on my own.
What about you, Hayden?
In terms of, could you repeat the question
Like
for that one?
needing help for stuff. Like, do you have anybody you could go to ask questions, or are you just on your own?
Depends. Like coding stuff, I could ask you, I guess. But for like art stuff, like
Or
I
like
said,
when
I
you're
don't.
starting out though.
YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube's great. I mean, I recommend for anybody who wants to start learning something in particular, like go find a YouTube video and just watch a tutorial. Maybe watch 2 or 3 and then just copy exactly what they do. Doesn't matter if it's art, programming, whatever you want to do, cooking. And then from there, you can kind of like see how far you can get on your own, knowing that knowledge. And then if you want to go even further, then again, go watch a video.
Yeah, that's how I learned how to use Unity. Was just watching people, and yeah, I was just copying them like flat out. But I wasn't copying their projects from GitHub, even though they made that available. I was going through the motions and doing everything, which is like cool. You make a game, but then like when I go to actually make stuff on my own, it's like wow, like I actually know how to do a lot of this stuff just from doing it, repeatedly from the YouTube videos.
Yeah, I would say, like people say it's not as easy as just following a tutorial on YouTube. It's like it is if you retain the information, you take the notes, and you put the time in. It literally is the same with college. It's like YouTube University is a very real thing. It's like the episode I'm currently putting out right now for this podcast. He's entirely self-taught photographer, and how he started out was he didn't even have a camera, but he'd be looking up at like how to use the specific one he was gonna buy. So by the time he even got it, he's like, "Oh, I know how to use this thing." He's not even cracking open the manual. So it's like just having that initiative is the biggest thing, really. I think.
Yeah.
Well,
It's about effort too.
Yeah, well, that kind of goes hand in hand with initiative.
Well,
too.
yeah.
But no, that is a good another point too. But I don't know. I just feel like those two skills are like lacking in modern society, where it's just kind of like you get comfortable with the flow of things, and that's where you are.
Well, I think it kind of personally, I think it kind of boils down to like the school system and how it works, because a lot of assignments and stuff all depend on the final product. Like say that with a lot of these programming projects, for example, that people are learning, 227, you've been through them all. The point of the projects is to have you learn a very specific skill or like some part of the language that you still need to learn. And a lot of people don't see it that way. They just see it as a chore that needs to get done so that they don't fail the class, which is like, okay, but then you're not really learning anything either. So like, I don't know. I think like if people actually want to learn, if they have that motivation, then I think like a lot of this stuff, assignments can be very beneficial if they put the time into it, like actually doing what they're supposed to do. But the problem is a lot of people don't see it that way. They want to go play video games. They want to go out and party or something, so they try to get it done as fast as they can, only for them not to actually learn anything. And then when they get to the real world, then they fake the interviews too, and then you get people that are just totally incompetent at their jobs. So
Yeah, I would say that was me for like a couple of software engineering classes. Like, I won't lie, I'm like, hey Mitch, how do you do this? Like probably more than I should have, but it's not that I don't know how to program. It's just not like I'm not a software engineer. If I want to do software engineering, I'd be a software engineering major, right?
yeah,
But it's the fact that and I will say the worst thing about Iowa State in my experience is that cybersecurity you get like 3 or 4 classes, or like 3 forced classes, then like 4 tech electives.
yeah,
But then the rest is computer engineering, software engineering. It's like sure, it's nice to know how to write scripts to go do like let's just say you want to scan a network. Well, I'm gonna write this little script for this whatever in Cali to go scan this network. And it's nice, but that's scripting. That's not really coding though. But I mean, sure, you just call me a script kiddie, but it's like I'm not pulling that off GitHub to go do something. Those are the script kiddies that are just pulling code, running it. They don't know. All it is like imagine playing darts with a blindfold on. That's all they're doing.
yeah.
But it's like to actually learn the scripting languages or whatever, Bash, whatever. That's where your actual engineer comes in. I wish they'd teach more. Be like, oh hey, we're gonna instead of using Ubuntu or Red Hat or whatever they have for most of their computer engineering kids, it's like, well, let's just train you really how to do everything on Kali, or I don't know, other hacking tools. They haven't taught us a lot on Windows. That's the only thing I hate about iOS. It's like they haven't taught anything about Windows for like cybersecurity. That's like 90% of corporate, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing with like, yeah, I wouldn't even say that that's a specific Iowa State issue. It's like a lot of colleges if you look into their different programs. I think if you really want to get into something in your specific major, it's kind of almost on you to kind of sit there and figure it out, right? And that's kind of something they don't really talk about, right? They tell you go to college, you do the coursework that you need, and you go get a job. But a lot of jobs these days, they want to see you doing that stuff in your free time anyway, because they know that you're not going to learn what you need to know in college. There's no way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very specific.
Isn't that the thing that sucks? It's like you're paying how much a year before scholarships or financial aid to just go and learn the stuff you're not even gonna. I mean, you use parts of what you learn, like let's say your constructors or whatever, like the very basic intro to programming stuff or intro to embedded systems, like that stuff's nice. Or I don't know, just I say the biggest takeaway is learning how to work in a team. Like that's ultimately that.
Yeah, I think. Well, I heard this. I think from my mom, but what an engineer is just somebody that can learn stuff, like pick it up. Because realistically, if I go work at some company and I'm in software engineer, like the engineer is that I can learn things, and the software is that I have a software background, so I know of the software stuff, anything related to it. So realistically, they could put me in like a computer engineering or like a lower level, like hardware for computers, and like, yeah, I wouldn't have necessarily the same background as somebody who specifically studied that, but I would be able to pick up on it and figure it out on my own. And that's more of what people are looking for. Obviously, they're not going to take me from software engineering and put me in like construction or whatever, structural engineering, because like there's no carryover at all. But at least like to similar fields, I can still pick up on stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I just wish with cybersecurity there was more like, I mean, they do a lot. Like the first intro to cyber class, which I TA'd last semester, they give you kind of like your own virtual network of all these different machines and stuff, and it's your job to build the firewall and do all the firewall rules and stuff, the NAT rules, and to get everything to work. So that was cool. But dude, the bugs on it were ridiculous. Like as a TA, I didn't even know how to fix some of the bugs. I'm just like, I'm gonna refer you to the TA that's been TAing this class for like 3 years, or that I've had like one of the TAs I TA with right now. I want to say he has post graduation job lined up with a company bought out by Google. So it's like,
Wow.
yeah, like pretty like I have big imposter syndrome with like some of these TA classes. I'm like, who am I? Like it's ridiculous. Like one of the TAs last semester was working at like a naval warfare academy out in Virginia Beach, and he's just remote TA. He's like, yeah, I'll answer questions. Just nuts. But I don't know. Maybe that just shows I didn't work hard enough in college to be someone like him. But he got they have this thing for cybersecurity. It's a DoD scholarship, literally sponsored by the Department of Defense, and they literally just keep paying you. I think it's like 25 grand a year plus pay for your education.
That's crazy.
And get you like all the latest tech and stuff within 2 years. Crazy.
Yeah.
But you got to be top of the line for that. That's I'm saying made out of like the Elon Musk factory, like to be almost exceptional as him, but I'm not. I'm not the next Elon Musk. But the guy I'm referring to might be. I'm just saying. Dude's wicked smart. He's crazy. I did have him on my podcast too, and we had to censor a lot of stuff just like because we just kept talking about like names and stuff. Like I try not like name drop anybody on the podcast, which I always listen to everything back, but I think we've been good about that so far. I don't know.
I've been trying not to.
Yeah. That's like my biggest, like, whenever I do it, I'm always like, more editing. I just keep making more work for myself. But outside of game design, do you guys have any other hobbies you're passionate about?
Pixel art.
Yeah, I mean, you can say like art or something like that, but
That's also game development.
yeah. Cooking. Yeah, some people don't count cooking as a hobby. I count cooking as a hobby, so I like to cook. I'll say that.
What do you like to cook?
Anything. A lot of Asian food because it's really
Nice.
cheap and accessible around here, especially.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there's like on Lincoln, there's like 3 places called Asian Market. So, you just go down the street and there's a bunch of places you can get ingredients from really cheap.
My goodness. I'm assuming it's cash or crypto, huh?
No, it's just, I don't know. It's so low tech and they have so little stuff in that store. It's almost like, I don't even think they have a cash register or anything. You go up to the guy and you pay him.
How does he count it?
He counts it by hand. He pockets it, yeah. Did you go with us when we went?
No.
I went with some of the roommates who went. We saw one of our professors there.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I shouldn't even say it. I said a name. My bad. My bad.
I honestly wanted to say his name too, because for reference, he was our intro to programming teacher. Did that just get turned off?
Yeah. Is it still?
I don't know. It says it's still going.
Okay.
I just
Just
saw
in
it
the studio room it did.
It's probably automatic.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, my favorite time. Were you in 227 with?
No,
you're
older,
ahead.
yeah.
Never mind.
He's a year
Sorry.
older, Yeah.
My favorite thing he says. Someone asked him, "Why are you in California?" And his reply was, "Why are you in Iowa?" We go to Iowa State. I love how snarky he is. But if I genuinely had a question, I'd hate him. But just as a third-party observer to his
Yeah, he's
interactions,
great.
I love him.
I've got a GIF saved of him on Discord where he's just juggling
Really?
3 balls. It's infinite loop.
I'm talking
That's
about the
awesome.
math professor, actually.
Oh, that's who I was talking about. Who are you talking about?
I never had him because I did most of my math at my community college. But
I had him 3 times.
3 times?
Yep. Calc 1, 2, and differential equations.
How do you like differential equations?
It was awful. I struggled so much. It's
What do
probably
you think about eigenvalues?
I don't even remember how to do them.
I don't either. That eigen. Once I had an A in that class, and once eigenvalues came, I finished that
Tanked.
class with a C minus.
I know.
It
I
was
had like
so
a C minus.
bad.
Yeah, it was awful. I think that was the closest I've came to failing a class.
Yeah. What about you? And big Diff EQ guy?
I had it during COVID semester, so you know how that semester went for everybody. So
Yeah.
yeah.
They were like, what was it? They're like, you can like choose to just pass or fail a couple classes.
Oh yeah, I tried to like 4D chess that whole system. So I'm like, all right, so let's say I don't do well because I wasn't doing well in physics, which is shocking because like that's all I do in game development is I do a lot of physics stuff. But I wasn't doing well. I couldn't figure it out, and I could either fail it, or not fail it, but like I could either take it pass fail, and take it so it's like for a grade, or I could take it where it was just I guess that'd be just pass, right? And in that case, I'm like, what if the people who are trying to hire me look at it and they say, oh, he took it as a pass, that looks bad on his resume, right? Because he obviously didn't do well in it. Or do I just be upfront and be like, I wasn't that bad of a grade. I'll just show what I got on the physics exam. So I was like, what do you do there? They're going to look bad if you say pass? Should I just show the grade? And if you show the grade, it might drag down your GPA or, whatever. So it's like trying to figure out like what to do for that sort of stuff was like a big pain. I don't know about for you guys.
The way my high school did it was awesome. It was whatever grade you had could not go down, but it could go up. So they still continued the classes and you could go to them if you wanted to, but I just said, screw it. I'm not going to any of them. And I had all A's at the time. So like, why would I try anymore? So
Cameras rolling by would totally flip you off. I'm not even kidding. That is so dumb.
dude, it
Are
was
you
awesome.
kidding
My
me?
high school was goated.
Oh my god, that's so dumb. We didn't get any special treatment. We just went home and did it online. That was it. But it was also community college. And then we came to Iowa State, and I think you could choose like pass or fail some stuff, but then they got rid of it before I even used it, which would have been nice for Diff EQ. I just kind of listened to all the stuff in like engineering 101 or whatever it was, and I'm like, yeah, shut up. I don't care about this class. I just want to go home. I'll do the assignment. I don't care. But I will say the most useful class that's required is probably portfolio.
Really?
Yes. It forces people to make a portfolio. And it's just a website where you host, you can do it through GitHub, Google Sites, all this stuff. But it's just showcasing all the 3 to 4 to 5 important projects to you that you want to be known for when an employer looks at your thing. So it's like an addition to LinkedIn,
Yeah.
but it's your personal one, which I think is kind of cool.
I need to do that. It's on my to-do list, but
We don't have a class for software engineers. They don't make us take that anymore because people said it was useless, which is totally untrue. It's super useful.
Yeah, it's not useless.
Yeah. So I didn't take it. So I don't have a portfolio, which is really bad considering like all the stuff I talk about on my resume is like game development stuff, and you can't like see it anywhere.
Yeah.
I didn't list the one that we published because, first of all, I did art, so it wasn't a lot of programming on that one, and the name of the game probably isn't something I should have on my resume. It was called Biggest Balls in the West. So I'm like, I don't know if that's a very professional name.
That's getting you hired.
it's a pinball game.
Yeah.
Biggest balls in the West. I love that, dude.
The theme of the game jam was balls. So everybody had to make something with
Yeah.
balls. Hey,
Safe for work.
PG-13, safe for work. Yes, but
Yeah.
We emphasize that. We're like, you're getting disqualified if it's not. But no, it worked out pretty well. We had a lot of people that made.
Malicious compliance.
Yeah.
There you go. It's still compliance. You can't
Yeah.
complain about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Was that for a game jam?
yeah. For
Oh,
the
that was
record,
that was a pinball one. Yeah.
yeah. I was
That's
against it. Just when they brought it up at the exec meeting, and we were trying to plan it all.
Yeah,
I
he
like,
was against it, but everyone
Against the name or the pinball?
the name,
the name.
the theme,
balls.
balls.
I was like, this
'Cause
could go really badly.
Somebody, it was either me or Sasha that thought of it.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
But we thought it was hilarious, and then Winter was also on it, and the three of us were like, "All right, let's do balls." And Hayden's like, "I don't want to do it. That's like dumb." He's like, "We should do something else." And then, but he got outvoted. So
3-1.
Yep.
That's tough. That's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, everyone
Yeah.
loved it though. I think it turned
Yeah.
out really well.
Yeah. I mean, everyone played along really nicely.
Yeah.
Everyone in the club's really respectful, and I don't think we would have any issues, that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. But just me being paranoid as usual. So
Yeah. That's I'm kind of the same way with stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a game developer. I'm not the one naming projects and stuff. But are you in senior design then?
yeah, senior design too.
Talk about your design project.
Okay. So we got basically brought on by this company that does, I don't know, even know if I want to say. Let's just say they're a manufacturing company,
There you
and they need stuff to monitor how their like kind of machine workload is going, and they can show statistics on like how their production report is. So we're basically making like a digital production report. It's really simple in terms of senior design projects go, because most people have like a physical device they have to physically build, and then they have to hardware program it. Whereas ours is entirely like just like a software application. But we're having an issue right now because like we're supposed to remote like into their servers, remote access their servers, so we can like look at the data and stuff like that. But for the past 2 weeks, the remote accessing software has been down, and the only other option is like I have to drive out to, the middle of nowhere in Iowa to go to their plant. And I already did that one time, and that wasn't what I was complaining about. I was like, I have to go into middle of nowhere. It's like a 4-hour drive or something, and just one way 4 hours and all this stuff. And like now I'm gonna probably have to do it again because like we can't even see the servers. I'm gonna have to like go down there for the day and work on it. So it's not fun, but it's a
go. That'll drive
project.
me nuts, dude.
Yeah,
It's like just open up port 445, call it a day. That's your remote desktop connection port. Or you could do SSH. However,
they're not. Yeah, they're not tech illiterate, I would say, but they're not tech savvy. So it's they don't just have like a VPN into their network and use stuff. It's like they have to have one of those kind of like what the school has right now. Like you sign in, you can log into the actual like Windows desktop of a computer or something like that, and get in that way instead of just like SSHing in.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So for my senior design project, it's pretty neat. It's just so much. Like, basically, what we're doing is the TLDR is making it so people can't hack into like a car network and hijack the session so they can be like, oh, we're going this way. We're going this way. I'm going to just make you brake on the highway and just whatever.
Like a Tesla or something?
Um,
Like, what do you mean? Because like my car doesn't do that.
what do you mean?
Like, it's dumb. It's old. I don't know.
Well, how old's your car?
2005.
No, it's not too old.
Okay, then I don't know what you're talking about.
How? So you have a bunch of ECUs in your car. Like you obviously have your radio and stuff,
Yeah.
right? That's an ECU. Same thing with your engine, transmission. They all have electronic components that doesn't look like it,
Yeah, I guess.
but
yeah.
it does. And those things send messages to the bridge, and it's called a CAN bus. So it's like we've all taken 281. I know you've taken 281. It's mandated.
Yeah.
So like how like you can send multiple signals into a bus, right? So there can be multiple ECUs that talk to a bridge, and that bridge will send it to another bridge, and it'll give it to another part, right? So we're basically just trying to prevent like someone hacking into like between two bridges and saying, "Hey, I'm just gonna whatever," or I can be like, "Oh, this check engine light turns on," or something. I can just bring up false flags like that. But that's what we're working on. This happened in like a 2015 Jeep Cherokee or whatever. It was the SUV version of it, where it looks like a mom van
Yeah.
or whatever. And these two Russian hackers, ironically they're Russian, I don't know why, but it's just the news article that made Wired. But they were like, hey, get in this Jeep. It was all planned and everything. It was totally safe. But they basically demonstrated publicly that they could do this wirelessly. It was through Chrysler's Uconnect app in their dashboard. And they could saw all these other hotspots on the map they're working with, and they're like, well, we could hack into this one, but here's the ID we're looking for with our guy in the car. We're not going to be malicious about it. They're just being safe about like, oh, look, we can mess with the radio, the engine, the steering wheel, all the stuff.
So they turned it into like remote control,
Yeah.
basically. That's crazy.
Yeah. But think about that using a malicious aspect. That's terrible.
Yeah, like that's like a James Bond movie type of thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's freaky, dude, but they did patch it. However, how Chrysler patched it was go to the dealership or DIY. And who's all looking for patches on the internet for their car? I haven't looked at all for any of the Honda Ridgeline vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
What do I care? It's a car. But it's like, it makes you think though, because like, and what's crazy is this can't happen to a Tesla, at least this non-exact method, specifically because of the fact they don't have Uconnect, but they run on Ethernet and not the CAN bus, which they made in the 70s. And at the time, they're like, we don't care about security. We're just stoked it works, right? That's all they cared about. But
Right.
it's cool to work on stuff like that. And the guy, our client, he used to work at John Deere, and they solved this issue. And John Deere was like, why don't you go to Iowa State and continue doing research about this for us? So he's literally getting paid to do research by John Deere here. He's like not even like an official. I mean, he teaches classes like 500 level classes, but
It's because they have to.
yeah, they have to. It's neat though, really. But yeah, the first semester did not go hot. We had no idea what we were doing. It's like you didn't even know your car that had ECUs.
Yeah, I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So it's
crazy.
like it's like learning coding all over again almost. But it's similar to like Ethernet packets. Like obviously on the internet you have little packets of information that get sent to places like from your phone. It's like, oh, I'm looking for YouTube.com or whatever. And it does all these hops through these routers and stuff, goes through all these different servers. And it's just literally just like going through networks of people in reference to how technology works. It's like, hey, do you guys know Mitchell Talliot or Hayden? I don't know your last name, but and I'm gonna keep going through as this packet goes. Just gonna keep getting sent like, no, but I know this person that knows until it gets there, and then it goes all the way back. It's like, okay, we found them. I'm gonna tell you the address, right?
Mhm.
And then that's essentially how that works. And I'm assuming it's the same thing for the vehicle network CAN thing, but that's my senior design project. I know I just kind of hijacked this whole podcast to show how cool my project is. It's technical, dude. It's super. But the only shitty thing is we're programming in C.
Oh, it's not that bad.
You want to work with Malik? Tell me, you want to work with Malik?
No, dude, I'm a big C++ guy. C is, it's mid.
No, it's not even mid.
It's below.
It's below mid. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's you have to do so many loops and hoops to even compile a dang thing, unless you're running Linux.
Yeah. But it is energy efficient, and it's there's not much overhead. So it makes sense why they use it in a car, because you don't want to use that much energy.
I think our client suggested Python,
Makes sense.
but like 3 people. I mean, that's probably how you felt towards me in 227. And then when I literally called him up, I'm like, I know you're not taking 228, but can you help me with linked list? I had him look at it for like 30 minutes. He's like, I know nothing, dude. But I'm like, that's okay.
I just couldn't understand what the assignment was about. And then, yeah, I was just kind of like, I don't know. I was like, I could spend a lot of time trying to figure this out, but it's also your class.
Yeah. I just took the L on it. I got like a 25% on it, but I still got like an A. Yeah, I still got like an A- in 228 up somehow. Just because I was like, I was good with like taking the test and like like the last project, I spent like 40 hours on it, and that was like with working. I mean, we only had 1 week to do it, but I just came home, just cranked it out, and there was like this dude who wasn't working at the time, so I was like, I don't want to see your code. I just want you to help me think through this. Which, bless his heart, I don't even know what his name was, but he was...
Was it a TA?
No, it was like another student in the class. And I just kept sending him my code. I'm like, why isn't this working? How it's working is like binary search tree or something like that. And you had to do like different displays and stuff like that. But he's just like referring me back to notes and then explaining on top of the notes. So I wouldn't say that's academic dishonesty. If you're referring back to class notes and having someone help you break it down.
That's what a TA would do. I mean,
yeah.
They wouldn't, yeah, because as long as they don't give you code like directly what you're
Yeah.
going to turn in, it's fine.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the academic dishonesty stuff is kind of gray area still, at least for software engineering. But it's like,
Well, like that's why I know earlier you talked about like test cases, me handing those out, and the only reason why I did was because they explicitly said that we could do that.
yeah,
That we could share it with other people. So in that case, like, well, why wouldn't I just give it to everyone?
yeah,
So.
yeah. You had like 400 lines of them too, dude.
Well, yeah, I wanted to make sure it was thorough because I was using it to test my own stuff, and then I was like, all right, I'll just give it to other people if they want to use them. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So.
You were the saving grace in that class for probably a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. Or hopefully not. Maybe they're independent now.
I don't know.
Probably not, but they probably will because I worked ahead of you guys.
Yeah, you did.
Like I took 228 over the summer because this was spring semester. I met him in 227, and I'm like, crap. Now I'm ahead of Mitch. I won't have Mitch to help me anymore, which is probably for the better. But because it forced me to learn on my own. But I still, dude, I took 311 over the last summer. Didn't learn anything. I just went through the motions.
I'm taking it right now.
I feel like I should have just not been a little crabby. But my problem is like this is my 5th year of college because I went to community college. So I'm like, I'm done. I hate everything. I just want to be done. Just like, following people on Instagram that I graduated high school with, it's like they're graduated. They're working the real jobs.
They've got a job, they're married,
Have 3 kids, have a house. I'm like,
You're right.
cool. Glad I have 3 roommates. This house is literally my house. You haven't seen. I know. I don't think you have. But
I've only seen like video calls and stuff with you.
yeah. But anyways, this house was like the first house built on like 13th Street. It feels like. I mean, dude, it used to be like a farm field, and then they built the subdivision around this specific house. So it's old. It's probably the oldest in the neighborhood, but I don't know. It's cheap. I mean, my rent's $340, but that's without utils or anything.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But, shoot, we've been in here how long? Not even though.
I think it was like 1:30.
1:30, about 2 hours. Is there any ending subjects you guys wanna whip out? You got any message for the world as to not be?
There is one thing I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
That I like talking about. And that it would be because like Iowa State, the one thing that I feel like it's lacking is a game development like major, because we have everything here for it. We have design classes. We have even ones over modeling, which would be game development. We have programming, obviously. We have lots of design and art stuff. Like we literally everything that goes into game development, we have it, but we don't have the major for whatever reason. And I believe I've talked to a couple of professors that said that it's like the number one like major they're trying to get. But then what it boils down to is once they have it, like, how do you determine if you should do that? Because there's definitely a lot of people that would take game development because it's something they're interested in. It's not boring like computer science. But then the problem with that is that I feel like you're kind of digging yourself into a hole if you do game development as a major. Because as it's proven between Hayden and I, like you can take something that's not game development and still do game development and excel in it. You don't need to take that major. And what you're doing with that major is that you're digging yourself in a hole where once you get out in the real world, you don't have the same stuff with like software engineering. Like you can't go to a regular engineering company and apply there because it's nothing related to your major. And then unless you like go all in, like you're doing game development constantly like we are in addition to your major, there's like no way you're going to get a real job in the game development industry because it's so oversaturated and it's already like competitive. So I don't know. I just think like if people are trying to determine what they should do, I always try to push software engineering because it's a step up from computer science. You can do computer science stuff as a software engineer and you have the engineering label. And then you have way more options. So, I mean, that's kind of why I did it too, is I have a fail safe. If I don't get into game development, oh well, but I've got this software engineering background. I can find a job that pays, $100,000 a year off the bat, like easy. So,
yeah, that is a nice thing. That's kind of like how I am with cybersecurity too, because like they don't teach a lot of cyber classes. So maybe it's like how a game dev thing would be. Because like cybersecurity, I don't know if you guys looked into it all, but it's almost like YouTube University now, where it's like there's so many cheaper ways to go get cyber knowledge that are probably almost better than this because it's so much more.
mm-hmm.
That's kind of what these companies are relying on. It's like, how far are you going out of your way to learn more about cyber? So it's like I'm doing the cyber defense competitions that they offer, and but it's like after you do so many of those, it's like it's the same thing, just maybe 1 or 2 different machines per time. But the only thing that sucks is like they misconfigure the shit out of these machines on purpose for you to fix. Like they literally. Do you guys work with Linux much at all?
A little bit, not really.
You know the sudo apps install?
Yeah.
They broke that on one of the machines. And so I had to like figure out like my sudo apps install is not working. But it was on like a CentOS
On
machine.
purpose?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So then you had to figure out how to fix that. So you could even update the machine to like get at least that version of CentOS to get all the patches for it. So if there is an easy backdoor or something, because these competitions this is why I say Iowa State really has going for cybersecurity. These competitions, they bring in like local black hat hackers. So it's like or not black hat hackers, but white hat hackers. But it's like they're ethically hacking into stuff or penetration tests or stuff like that, and they'll work against the blue team, aka whoever's trying to be in the competition, and then they also have a green team, which are your clientele. So it's like imagine they do a basic visualization of like any company, just super small. It's like a bank. So you have your clients calling you, be like, hey, I need to withdraw whatever from my account. Here's my information. But then the red team will also try and social engineer you, which is like they'll act like the green team. They'll come in and be like, hey, or they'll call you because every team has your own phone and everything too. That's all VoIP and stuff. It's just all local. So then they'll call whatever team number you are, like, hey, I'm so and so. I need my stuff fixed, whatever. But maybe they pronounce their last name wrong or missaid their first name or something's off. They'll purposely do something that's off because they want to train people on how to catch social engineering too.
Yeah.
Because it's like sure they could just come in and just totally put on a great performance because they're used to it.
Hayden, are you familiar with what social engineering is?
Vaguely. If you guys want to give me a definition,
It's basically, correct me if I'm wrong.
I would say the basic definition of it is exploiting humans to.
It's like phishing.
Yeah, phishing. So phishing. That's one definition of it. But it's basically you can do it in person too. Like, imagine you're working at a company, and I'm the new hire. And I'm like, Hayden, I got my work done for the day. Is there anything I can do for you? I'm doing you a solid, right? And you're like, man, that Ryan guy's really neat, right? But now, what if you know something I don't about the company? I can just be like, what days are, let's just say John, our employer, are usually off? And you're like, oh, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm like, perfect. Now I can go snoop through his office Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Stuff like that. Or, just you can exploit people to leak information that they're not supposed to. Stuff like that. It's just there's so much stuff, dude. It's crazy. But I have an interest in psychology, so it's like I love social engineering. Like it's so interesting to me that humans are easily malleable. Not that it's a good thing at all. It's terrible. Because it's like, you feel great being helpful to someone, right? It's like, oh, I helped them out. That's awesome. That's like basic mental health medicine. But it's tough. It's tough to find this stuff because like you can have like the perfect phishing email, but like even a lot of companies now they're trying to train their employees to catch social engineering. Like my mom works at a hospital, and every 3 to 6 months they have a new like seminar they have to watch or a couple videos, then pass a training. Like the hospital themselves will purposely put out phishing emails, and then they have a thing that they have to report to. If you think it's phishing, you have to report to this, and then you either pass or fail. If you fail so many times, you have to go take a additional class or something.
That's interesting you bring that up because like that's what I always kind of envisioned a lot of leaks kind of happen through, right?
100%.
So you hear about like all this stuff getting leaked, TV shows, a full episode of like a show, video game characters for, like a big fighting game roster or something like that. Like that's all through social engineering stuff.
Yeah.
It's always a phishing email or they get buddy with somebody who's on the production team and they get a picture of something and then they send it out. It's always something like that.
Yeah. With just brushing all this political topic, or even Hillary Clinton's emails, there's literally just leaked credentials for one of the board members of her campaign team. And that's how they got the emails, just through social engineering. It's crazy that even there's like, you're like, well, this is business. But it also happens to politicians too. It sucks on some extent. Like, I feel like a lot of stuff should be open source information. But to the extent of credentials and personal identifiable information, I actually just learned about this I'm taking information warfare. That's a sick class, dude. It talks about like these, just how hackers get into stuff and how to like prevent it. But personal identifiable information. How many times have I said that word? The Privacy Act of 1974, I think, is kind of like revolving around that. And then HIPAA and FERPA followed those. So that was kind of like the big one, But to help the Privacy Act, that's kind of how they came out with your financial, educational, whatever FERPA stands for, right? So I feel we're moving more towards stuff like that because now you have the European GDPR, which is a result of the Facebook and Cambridge Analytica thing that happened in 2018 because you had 50 to 100 million accounts exposed with all their data. And that was my kick in the butt to go into cybersecurity. So it's very interesting to think about how many ways can something be hacked? Because you can have perfect security system, right? But if your employees aren't trained how to detect the stuff, you're like, oh, this person's trying to manipulate you to leak whatever, or this email is not from your boss requesting your W-2 information. Or yeah, that's a big thing. Like from 2017 to 2018, it went up like 400% how many W-2 scans were going on. Like it's
Wow.
ridiculous. Like I just read an article on it. This dude pocketed 1.3 million before he was caught by the IRS for W-2 scamming.
Jeez.
It's nuts. But I don't know. That's the age we're moving into. So I guess when you're doing your taxes, just be careful of that. Make sure the person you're going through is reputable. I don't know.
My dad's got a guy that does all of it for me, so
There you go.
yeah.
Well, you're covered. I don't know about you, Hayden. Maybe you need to go talk to Mitch or something. Be like, hook me up with that guy. But no, it's sad to think that, but nothing's safe anymore unless you make it safe.
Yeah.
But is there any closing statements, any closing food for thought you guys want to put out? Or it's about,
I want to point out, I think that clock's wrong.
you think it's wrong?
Unless my watch is behind.
This
Oh,
this
no.
is wrong.
My watch is behind. Never mind. We're good.
We're good. That clock's right.
That clock's right.
This one's not right on this freaking screen I'm looking
No,
at.
that clock's right.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know we were in there, and I'm like, it's not 104. I feel like we've been here for because we were trying to get everything set up before you got here. I'm like, the last thing I need is some dude who doesn't even know me waiting on me to get my crap figured out, right?
Yeah.
So I know you have to be somewhere or whatever. But any closing statement from you, Mitch?
I don't know. We've talked about quite a range of subjects today.
Yeah. Anything motivational, anything anti-motivational? I don't care. I
Anti-motivational?
don't care. Just stop. Your dreams are never going to come true.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, just in regards to I guess game development or just your passions as a whole, your heart's got to be in it. My heart's definitely into game development. I love doing it. It's something I look forward to doing at the end of the day. I know a lot of people go and want to just relax, watch TV, which I do sometimes. But I like coding and stuff. I just hope that, if this is something you want to do, if game development is something you want to do, if your heart's not in it, I mean, you're not going to go anywhere with it, especially when the market's so hard to get into. So, but it's just my 2 cents.
What about you, Hayden?
Be passionate about what you do. If you have an interest in something and you don't know if you're going to be successful at it, just go for it. Just give it a shot. Give it a try. There's so many people I know who are like, yeah, I would love to do X, Y, or Z. And I'm like, why don't you do it? I don't know if I would be good at it, or I wouldn't be good at it. You don't know that. Give it a shot. Give it a try. And then you can make the decision, right?
Especially now in college. This is the time to experiment and do things.
Just like with this podcast.
Yeah.
That's literally it. I mean, sure, you could be like me and be like, oh, I have a drunk thought. I'm going to go do it. But I'm actually carrying it out. This is going to be episode 19.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Just put your mind to it and do it. I mean, I have fun. I don't know if you guys have fun. Those guys are like, this dude fucking sucks as a podcast host. But it's I didn't even know you. And we were just shooting the shit. We just, boom, hit it right off. So it's I don't know. I feel like that's kind of my superpower to just hit it off with anyone. Is but we have a mutual friend. So it's maybe that's the help there. But how I started out, I just had bands that I just found on Instagram. I'm like, hey, do you want to be on podcast? I was nobody. I had this band who had 300,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. Like, yeah, we'll do one. I'm like, I don't know why, but sure, dude, let's do it. But yeah, no. So yeah, you guys just be passionate, really. If there's no passion, it's I would say the hardest thing to get is just the passion. Because financial resources, if you have the passion, you have the drive to actually scheme out something, go to a venture capitalist. Really,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys probably don't have a venture capitalist in your corner, do you?
No,
Do you call the venture capitalists your parents?
pretty much.
Me too. Yeah, bless my mom, dude. Yeah, because I don't know, just financial aid has not been nice to me at all. I'm like in that sweet spot range where like your family has enough money, but I don't know if they need to update that a little. That's my closing statement. That'll be my closing statement. Update the financial aid process. It's outdated. Like it's more outdated than the BMI, dude. It's ridiculous.
Our closing statements are motivational, and you're like,
And mine is I hate the financial. We're gonna close it there. That's gonna be the cold outro.